Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will learn how to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom of the universe. Now, with that said, I hope that anyone and everyone out there who watches this video or doesn't will make sure that they stay calm during these weird times. And looking at the news and watching the headlines and so forth, and talking with folks that I know and watching trends and things, you know, there is a lot of strange turmoil out there, and I mean like in the farming community and the trucking community and the manufacturing community. There's strange things afoot. And now I don't want to put a negative on this. I don't. But there are changes and how people are thinking about it. Certain people are getting out of the business. Other people want to like get into business now. Like what? Farming traditions and things and stuff. And in talking about these things, it's like back in the day, and I just feel like I'm getting older every second, you know. Back in the day, people used to sit down and hash things out. Now, the Hatfields and McCoys had an issue with that, but the Hatfields and McCoys were an example of what not to do. You don't do this, please, you know. So, behavior of people is established by their moods. So, you know, if your mood is a little on the weird side and somebody comes in and irritates you, and it might not irritate you any other day, but today it's just like, you know, and you don't really know why, but you're just kind of a little bit irritable, you know. So the first thing you do is like, what's that? What you doing? What you talking about, Willis? What you want, you know? So our reaction, although it may not how we actually do feel, it touches us in such a way that, you know, and I have had this affliction, if you will, over the many years, but I've learned that and that other people are having a similar kind of weird day, and offset energies can just spark some strangeness. But you may be already feeling strange. But anyway, so but with this conflict that we're all going through right now, and it seems like people want to express their free will and their free rights and etc. And I'm all for us being able to express our own opinions. But the idea, though, that after all these centuries, after everything we've learned, one thing that we basically seem to have left out of all of this is the fact that folks don't sit down, hash it out, and work it out anymore. They've all got their opinions, so they must be right. No one wants to change their opinion. Well, it's either our way or the highway, my side or no side, you know. If you're not on my side, then you must be on the enemy side. Not necessarily. So, you know, in thinking about this, I don't often ponder my old hippie days, if you will. But I was pondering some of my old hippie days. I was thinking to myself, with all the old hippies out there and folks that seem to be like reborn souls, I swear they grew up in the 60s. And some of their things and their ideals is more, you know, they're like, why should we fight about this? It's senseless. It's, you know, and it is, you know, so we can have opinions, but there are boundaries that people are crossing now. And I absolutely do believe that there are forces that are pushing certain agendas. And the thing is though, we're being gauged by our reactions. So if there's some turmoil and stuff out there, I immediately went into describing this thing, and I thought to myself, now, if I wrote that down, or if I said that out loud on tape or something, that would sort of become part of the intelligence gathering of how people react to certain things. So, like, I had a lot of trouble with using the word violence at the end of the title. And I said, no, actually, I don't need to change that word. I need to go ahead and use the word violence because that is what I'm discussing. So I was thinking about what was it about, during my early days, teen years, and, it was the Vietnam War, and it was the bombing and our people coming home dead. Then it changed from the fact, and Nixon started bombing Hanoi. So then we were like, why are you bombing these people that have nothing to do with the war? And just to make a point, so it was the killing, right? It was the harming. So it wasn't, quote, just the war, it was the harming of all these people. And so it's like, after all these years, after all the wars were through, people still want to harm each other. So, and in relating it to our history, all we have to do is just go back to, my era of the 60s and early 70s with all the war protests. And yes, it was about the war, but the bottom line was, quote, the hippie movement. And I've heard various other people's opinions on it. And I was like, but I was there, and that's not how we felt about it. It was about peace on earth. So how do you get peace? It's without violence. Now, it didn't mean that you couldn't have an argument or a discussion, but what it did mean was, hey, man, okay, maybe you're right about this. It wasn't about the dominance of one person's opinion over another. And trust me, there's been a lot of conflict in that areas, even amongst the hipsters. Somebody always wanted to be in charge, and the other folks kind of went, well, okay. And I've seen some communes that worked for a while and worked very well, and others that started out poorly ended up being a lot longer. There were people who stayed longer than anybody would have thought. But anyway, so certain people left and other people came in, and a transition took place, and they all get along better than ever up in Tennessee. Yeah. So anyway, but the idea though that we can get along. So the issues would come always when one or two people, or sometimes, 4 or 5 people, would say the rest of you are wrong and we're right. Well, so their option, their choice was to leave or to create havoc or whatever it was that they did at the time in the situation. So, but when people, and I've been in a lot of situations, but I've always gotten to the point where I used to be one of those folks on one side of the table doing the hollering. And somewhere in my transition, I became the mediator and went, wait a minute, now hang on. Now, and it was sort of like, I remember my days in high school and then doing debates and so forth. And I was involved with some other type of debate. I can't remember. I think somebody was doing a debate and they needed coaching anyway. So I was given pointers. That happened several times. Actually, I remember it. So the way to work out any of the differences was hollering and one person being the dominant. Now, it may be that person has a point. So hash this out, and there's a hidden meaning in that particular phrase. Let's hash it out. So y'all figure that trick out, and no box, remember. But the idea though that, hashing it out was being able to say, well, this is what really bothers me. And then saying, okay, now there it is. Now, what bothers you? What's pulling your chain? What's your thing? And it isn't about who's right or wrong, at the beginning at least. It's why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that way? Okay. Now, but give that person a chance. This isn't about an argument. This is about you telling, not necessarily what your side of the story is, but how you feel about this and what this subject is about. And, you know, there's the incident with somebody spraying something and somebody being something. And there's a lot of weirdness going on, and people trying to get other people's sympathies, and people, you know, wearing guns, and, you know, been wearing guns. Now more people are buying guns and want to wear them, you know, and it's like, we need to be careful. I'm all for be armed. I'm all for if you carry it. Okay. There are people in my county that, you know, have a permit to carry out in the open. And you know, some people say, well, aren't you worried about these people carrying guns? And I go, no. And they go, well, why not? And I said, because I can see their gun. It's the guy who's hiding his gun, who's going to sneak into somewhere and do something. That's the guy I'm worried about, not whether or not the person. I was standing next to a person in line in Moultrie one day, and I saw their weapon. I was like, you know, I'm glad that you're, you know, that you're carrying. And he was like, what? I just said, I can't, but I'm glad that you can. And I'm just glad you're around, you know. And he was like, what? And he wasn't expecting my comment, but I wanted to let him know that, you know, I'm not sure if I would go around like Wyatt Earp or anything like that, which brings up something about this discussion about violence. So in this, I was having a conversation today, and I thought, you know, here's something that has bothered me over the years. I mean, back in the day, you know, cops were shooting robbers in the leg, in the arm, in the back, and in the backside, in the butt, and maybe in the shoulder. But then there was a transition in watching old police shows where it turned into the kill shot. Okay. So my concern about some of this with guns is Wyatt Earp had a reputation for wounding his outlaws and not trying to kill them. And so when I found that out, and this has been a couple of years ago, I thought, now, isn't that just interesting? So as a lawman, he saw the purpose to bringing people to justice. But by killing them, there was no justice. He was just murdering them, basically, and in the name of the law. So it takes a different kind of thinking. So when people are go to the target practice range, they're taught to hit the kill shot. So before you think anything's going on, your reaction, the reaction that's being taught, is to go for the kill shot. Well, now instead of going for over the heart, what if you went to the other side and took a shoulder shot and a lung? And I'm thinking, if I got hit with a bullet there, I'm not going to be creating a fuss and trying to, you know, so, but it wouldn't be the kill shot, you know, understand? So rather, and could you wound somebody in the leg? I'm here to tell you, you get shot in the leg with even a 22 pellet, you're going to go, ow, that stings. And your reaction is to drop your gun, drop your weapon. And so at any point, you know, so, but the idea though, that everybody's being taught the kill shot. So I'm a little concerned about that. You know what I mean? Because defending yourself and disarming someone with your weapon versus, and I've handled weapons, so, you know, I'm not a new greenie to this, you know, but I put them down, especially after, you know, it became a felony for me to, you know, to possess even a single shotgun, any kind of firearm. Now I can use air rifles or something like that, because it uses air as the propellant. There's no, so anyway, it's not a firearm. And they got some really good air guns these days. So, but anyway, But the idea, though, that in this protection, we're actually, in a way, being teaching each other how to murder each other. I mean, now the circumstance has to be, somebody charging you or something, or you feel threatened. But somebody says, "Well, I don't have time to worry about wounding." Well, now, see, if you're in the armed forces, that's different. If you're out in the streets of somewhere, you're facing somebody that maybe has handled a gun a little more. But if you're confident in yourself, maybe you can wing them, but you're not being taught that. So I don't want to go into a long diatribe about this, but in the idea, though, that self protection is one thing, but always going for the kill shot. Well, what if he pulls the gun and shoots again? Well, okay, but do you really want to murder this person? Well, I want to stop him. Okay, I agree. But do you want to murder them, or do you want to kill them? Well, if they've got a gun, yeah, but so maybe they're off on their meds. Maybe they are seriously possessed by some kind of demon, seriously. And so, but so is it, do we want to turn people into murderers, or do we want to turn people into protectors? So be more like Wyatt Earp, instead of aiming for this shot here, aim for this one, hit here, hit on the right side, which would be their left. But anyway, so, but that'll take a person down, especially if you pump two shots there, boom, boom. They're not going to be moving around a lot. And if they do have a vest on, taking the kill shot ain't going to really matter. But here's the next thing about this, though. So what I was looking at back in the old days, in the hippie days, is what were we actually against? And it was about violence. The bottom line was violence. I mean, because back in those days, there'd be a bunch of hippies, oh, golly. Frank Zappa wrote about it in his songs back in the day. All of the hippies gathered in the park, gotta go, bye, bye. Cop kill a kid. Pow, pow, pow. The idiot bastard son. But anyway, so the violence has been on both sides. With the police, it's been instigated by people who want to start trouble. And there's been violence in the streets for a long time, not by this current degree. It is a shame that people, well, the government isn't doing anything. Okay, so if you sent the troops in, you're going to show a violent response. What if the people just said nope and citizens arrest? And the mayor of the town said, look, any group of folks that see somebody doing violence, you have my permission to arrest them. Basically, you have all become my deputies. Now, that means if someone is doing violence, right? Because back in the day, there wouldn't be any of us that had weapons or anything. We just had peace signs. And the cops had billy clubs, and it was nothing for them to beat you and get back, bam, bam, bam. You've seen it. And then you wonder why people say, then they get into a riot situation. Well, that's because they have provoked the crowd, okay? Now, we've seen incidents where this still happens. Not as bad, but it still happens. It's human behavior. But how do we fix this? Not by the violence. Not by the violence. But now it only takes one bad apple to spoil that whole bunch. You know what I mean? So we have to consider, and be vigilant of those one or two crazy people. But it doesn't mean that's how the rest of us feel. Now, because of certain incidents, and I have, and as other people have said, hang on, there's going to be some waves between here and there, So these are energy waves that they're trying to put out, and they're trying to create more chaos, more bitterness, especially, let's put this word out there. What is that thing that everybody is doing right now? They're in fear. I mean, I'm in fear of the violence breaking out. So Whoops, I'm a part of this too. Well, okay, so I say, well, I'm concerned about it. Well, doesn't that mean I fear it? I mean, let's be frank here. Hi Frank, how you doing? So you say to yourself or to Frank, and you go, well, hey Frank, how you feel about this? Well, I don't know. I'm kind of feeling a little gutsy here. You know what I mean? So okay, so what does that mean? Well, I guess maybe I'm kind of fearing what's going to happen. And we all hope that it works out for the best, but then we have this fear because there's something else that's come out today. There's been more violence over here in this town, and there's still violence in this town and that one, and it wants to pop up in other places. Now, knock on wood, it's pretty good around here. Now, I think just it depends on where you're from and what's going on and who wants to scare whom and the populace and like what densities, what energies are in the places that some of this is going on. Because down here, folks would just understand that if some of these folks did some of these things, there'd be some whoop ass, okay? And that whoop ass might actually come from their own kind. Mexican, Chinese, pick a culture. So, but the idea though that it's like, but they just don't see that it's necessary. It's like, well, I might be a thug and a gangster, but that's just stupid. Okay. And even a gangster has a little bit of like, wait a minute, that could put me out of business. I could get thrown in jail over that. No. So whoever's doing some of these things, whatever their wiring is in their head, it is what it is. And I find it very curious that, there are people who have been seen at several, incidents, same people arrested in 2 or 3 different cities. So you have to wonder, these people are actually paid to do this. A lot of evidence that there is. Now, so let's just consider this though. So these folks are trying to create the violence, and what are they trying to create the most is fear. So that fear can lead to what? Very simply, more violence. Because now, because of the fear that you have, you wish you may become, there may come a situation where you may have to become violent to just protect yourself from a crazy, So you think, well, wait a minute now, but I know, and I've been in situations where, somebody tried to drag me out through the window of a car down in Tallahassee, and they beat the snot out of me, and in under 30 seconds. I was inebriated, not driving. It was my birthday kind of thing, and what I got in return was my head bashed in. I still have a scar where the man's ring cut into my nose. So it's a reminder all the time, and the headaches that come along with it. He had a big hand. And a black man at that. So, but the idea though that, so violence is everywhere for whatever the reason. And, can we stop the violence? Well, we can stop some of it. Why? Because of our attitude. Now, I'm not telling everybody to put your guns down. But folks who do have guns and say you're going to protect yourself, then you need to have this thought. Would you take the kill shot, or could you determine that I'm going to shoot a little over onto the right side of the person, your left, and take a shot that's going to put them down, but not necessarily kill them? Pull a Wyatt Earp. Do we want to become murderers? That's all I'm asking, Not saying don't defend yourself, but do we want to become murderers in the process? And so protection, yes. Murder, but I had to, protect myself. Now there was a person up on the hill, and their family. He was this is a true story. He was a real drunken, you son of a come down here when I first bought this place. And it just a real meanie, the fact that I was shooting at the rear end of his bulldogs that were killing my livestock and my chickens and tearing stuff up and eating cats. I'm killing things. I mean, so I'm down here, but I shot him in the rear end. And I always shot enough behind him that only one or two pellets would really get him in the butt, but they wouldn't come back down here. So, but anyway, so even though I had the right to put down the dog, especially 20 feet from my house, growling at me, the sheriff said, shoot him, on your property. It's not like my neighbor is just a few feet away. No, it's a half a football field away. I'm sorry. Wait, 300. Oh, no, it is a football field. So the length from the house to the fence is the length of a football field. So it's like, nope, I think this dog is on my property. Not a question, right? So, but I never wanted to kill anything even then. So the idea, though, that, got your point across, you wounded him, you kept him from, eating you or whatever. But at the same point, though, would I have put that dog down had he kept coming at me? And the answer is yes. Even though I only had one shot at the dog because it was a single gauge 20 or a single 20 gauge shotgun, I would have hit him in the head with the gun. So one way or the other, I would have took that dog out. But that's in defending yourself versus, well, we had a wolf here on the property and it got up to my neighbor's yard, got away from us. And the neighbor dogged at my chickens. He's that wolf. It's from them guys across the street. I hate them. Pulled out a 30-06 and murdered that wolf. Called us up and said, come get your dead dog. Now, that was just wrong. He did not have to do that. But he did. It was his choice. And so in the looking at this, had he called us, had he gotten into the chickens? No. Was he a threat to the chickens? He could, but I had chickens here and he wasn't a threat to my chickens. He was just curious. And this wolf was fast, about 10 months old, not quite a year. Beautiful wolf. And he said, nope, boom, and dropped her. So in life, people have that, no, I'm just going to drop them, Well, why wound them? Why just shoot over their heads? No, I'm going to kill them. So there is that mentality that's, I don't know, seems to be ingrained in some people, and not just country folk or whatever, but just in some people. And you'd be surprised in some people. But anyway, I know I have. What? Anyway. So, but the idea, though, how can we bring this to some kind of table and have a discussion? Let's hash this out. Now, if anybody knows about the word hash, then that's the hidden meaning. Leave it at that. But now to hash it out at times meant we're going to smoke the peace pipe. And we're all going to calm down here. And we're going to look at this from a different perspective. I'm going to listen to yours, and you're going to listen to mine while we hash this out. Now, people say, well, now that's not the right way to do it. Well, there's so much hormonal crap that goes on and between people, whether they're seeing each other. Well, I'm right, and I'm this, and I'm that, and blah, 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 and you're a boastful SO something or other. So, but the idea, though, that do we have to always be right? Well, my side is right. Oh, okay. But in politics, there's supposed to be compromise, some kind of compromise. And I believe that in some of these organizations and things, it's only their way. You see, that is their mandate. That is what there is no compromise. Now, what I lived through the times of Martin Luther King and him getting shot and Bobby Kennedy and all that. Listen, it was very traumatic to a lot of us. Abraham, Martin, and John, So, but the idea that someone is murdered in a crowd, and I still don't believe Sirhan did it. I think he was literally mind done. But anyway, because there were shots in the ceiling that couldn't have got there. I mean, there were shots coming from different angles. Sirhan if he did shoot him, he wasn't the only one. Just saying. They covered that mess up and told the other Kennedy boy, Teddy Kennedy, you're next if you don't straighten your act out. Trust me. So the idea, though, that there are those forces out there, and so in certain ways we have to deal with them. Now, I'm not in any kind of situation or position to be able to say, hey, but what we can do is demand of our senators and representatives to say, listen, you are supposed to negotiate. It is your job to compromise. And instead, voice your opinion, but don't get violent about it. Keep the violence out. Why not? Do we have to be violent every time? Sure, be boastful, be brash, state your opinion. Male, female, gender, not necessary. So, but the idea though we're gonna fight, we're gonna do, okay, we could use different words like, I challenge you to your opinion and whether or not you're right. To challenge someone is like, okay, put them up. But to say the word, I'm going to fight you, well, that's different. To challenge is like the gloves and the slap in the face in the comic books, right? Or cartoons. Well, same. But anyway, so the idea that the slap in the face and, your honor and this, that, and the other. Okay. And back in the old days, they used to do that kind of thing. Back in the 1700s, wasn't there several folks that had duels over the strangest of things? But the idea, though, so the honor and what one side thought was right or wrong. So the two leaders would shoot it out. Okay, well, so do we have to have all this violence and all these other things? So, but people are being prompted to do this. So, but what is our reaction? My reaction is some surprise. My next reaction after being surprised is sadness for me, in that, damn it, somebody's doing some crap. Damn it. Okay. And it was violent. Damn it, So, but then my next thought is, well, gotta not go there. Need to stay out of that negative. But where those same feelings would have lasted much longer than like today, and with some information that I got, I've learned that the quicker I can get to let me become the observer and let me get out of this emotional state and see what's going on, because this could really piss me off. It does. There's this, that really pisses me off, but I cannot put any anger in there. And if some of this, I want to slap somebody. Wait a minute. See, now just saying that, that is like, well, I'm thinking about it like Larry, Moe, and Curly, but but the thing is though, even though my, want to slap them is sort of slapstick, it's still a violent act, right? So hang on, I really don't want any violence. But as discussed before, I'd tell this friend of mine today the story about the mule and the guy that was driving down the road, and he wondered why the farmer was out there and hit the mule in the head with a 2x4. And the farmer looked at him and he said, son, you got to get their attention. Now, mules, stubborn, wouldn't move, sit down in the middle of the field. And sometimes you just have to get their attention. Now, that's a little harsh, but to some old farmer, he might have actually had to beat his head and smack the mule in the head with a board. So there's more truth in it than not. But the idea that didn't want to hurt the animal, they just wanted to get his attention. But in some of these things, though, the violence is beyond. It's not against a stubborn mule. It's the stubborn mule that has the 2x4. So it's like, what? Think about that analogy. Wait a minute now. because if the mule had any sense about him, he'd compromise with the farmer and say, well, we only got a little bit more to go, and then we're going to the house. And the mule instead says, no, I ain't going nowhere. So the converse is sort of true in that, uh, the mule wants to make the farmer stay out. I know that's backwards, ain't it? Like, no, we're not going to the house. So it's the converse in that those people who talk about nonviolence and all this and that, there are those instigators who make it, and it turns into that. And then there are people like, yeah, if that's the only way we're going to get their attention. So, Frankenstein is in the castle, and, they want to burn it down. So regardless of whether or not there's a monster in the castle, the idea of torches and pitchforks, and it's like, well, wait a minute, that makes me want to get my several pitchforks and go against those who want to pitchfork me, So, but wait a minute. So, but in the defense of things, what is the word that connects the two? Violence. Because we haven't been able to sit down, hash it out, and work it out. Somebody's got to have a compromise. And, being stubborn like a mule in these instances may not be the best solution. So sometimes we need to compromise in the short term. Okay. There have been some great politicians who have done that, and other people too. So, and I myself, during meetings and things, once I started learning this technique myself, it was important that that a compromise. Well, all right, now listen, he's got a point of view over here. Now just hang on, wait, don't, just calm down. Now just let's discuss about your issue here with this here. Hang on over here, tell me what your thing is. Let's all quiet, let's listen. So you listen to this person's problem, and then you hear it, they take the emotion out of it, whatever anger is, because the anger comes from trying to get their point across. And the other person ain't listening because they're trying to get their point across. But when the two of them calm down, hash, anyone? When the two of them calm down and realize, wait a minute, we can work this out. You're going to have to compromise a little bit, and so are you, but it'll start the argument. You're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and between all of us, we're going to make this work. Okay? And we shake hands and go back and do what's right. But so many people think about this, I'm independent, I'm sovereign, I can, I'm the manager. Well, sometimes being the manager doesn't necessarily mean you're right all the time. Because there were times when I've worked for managers as just a person. There have been several places that I was promoted really quick to assistant manager and was in line for a managerial position. And I said, nah, I don't want to be a manager of a hamburger joint, just no fast food. Sorry. Did enough of that in the carnival. And then I went back to the carnival and did that. So that was ironic. But at least I wasn't working for a chain, But anyway, although the pay was fairly decent for the time, you think $400 a month now and you go, what? Yeah, that was like a really good salary back in the day. So, but you could also rent a house, a decent house for $150 too a month. But the idea, though, that how violence has gotten into us, and that we must always take the kill shot, that there is zero compromise in this situation. Now, I'm speaking more or less out on the street. If somebody's breaking in your house, take them out. But at the same point, I know somebody who had a break-in and who had to shoot someone, and they died. And they turned into an alcoholic for many years. And I'm the last time I heard that he'd had a message from the Lord and it straightened up some, and then I heard that he regressed. So, but he killed this person, and supposedly in self-defense. So, but the idea, though, that he had to live with the killing, It was always there. And people who knew him always knew he was the one that murdered that. He shot that boy, even though the boy was in his house, but he's the one that shot that boy. And so that it never got erased until a new, I don't know, age of folks come in. But so whether anybody ever blamed him or not here in Colquitt County and so forth, like the lady up here who killed her husband, he beat the shit out of her. Okay, my neighbor, and he cornered her in the back bedroom, and she took a 12 gauge shotgun and took him out. Well, my son was working as a technician at the hospital where she was taken in the X-ray department. He said, Pops, I recognized the name, but he said her face was so messed up. He broke her jaw in several places. I mean, they had to wire her back together. And I was like, so, and there was a warrant against him, or restraining order against him. And so he broke into the house, being his mean old self, and decided to beat the shit out of her. And it happened. I left here at the time that the UPS man was going in, and he said it happened right after the UPS man dropped off from stuff at the house. He had a business up there. And so I was on my way to work, past the UPS man, and within an hour later, he was dead and she was in the hospital and all that kind of stuff. So, but, and I still swear I see his ghost up and wandering around up there on the hill. No one lives in the house. They've all moved out. They will stay on the weekends, but that's it. They'll come over and mow the grass and all that stuff, but they won't stay in the house. None of them. The daughters don't want to be in there. And the Hurricane Michael tried to take it out, took the barn out again. They rebuilt the barn, but the tractors and stuff. But so anyway, there's been some violence near me, but I gotta say he was one mean SOB. He really, really was, and he almost beat her to death. So. But and if all you got is a 12 gauge, that's going to at close range, that's going to hurt you. So, but anyway, the idea of violence. So she tried to hash it out, and it ended up in violence. So, with that said, there may be those times where our defense means the harm of another person. Whether we didn't start our day out like that, you know what I mean? She didn't start her day out and say, well, my husband's going to come home at lunch and I'm going to have to shoot him with a 12 gauge. I don't think she can get that picture out of her head. So with that, how do we fix this? You hear me always preaching about this, but it's one way that we can control the reactions of how we view these things. Oh, crap, here they go again, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you got 5 minutes and then shut that up. And what do you mean 5 minutes, Hawkeye? We've got 5 minutes to get our feelings out in a debate. That's about all you get, 4 to 5 minutes, maybe only 3. So you take your time, you get your point across, and then you shut up about it. You can still think about it, but without emotion. Well, you say, well, what good does that do, Hawkeye? With today's technology, and oh, by the way, have some coffee, Bob. And hi, everybody in the chat room. I'm almost done yapping first. But they're checking our facial expressions. If we typing comments into places, and especially anger, you know what I mean? And stuff like, oh, them people and blah, blah, blah. And he should have been, and this, they're gauging our response. And for those folks who don't understand this yet, the cousin of Bob is looking over our shoulder because they're trying to gauge our response. Okay, now you think about the guy sitting up in the big control room going, okay, we put this out there. Let's see how many people want to shoot him. Let's see how many people want to do this. How many people want to choose hanging. So it's the Hunger Games. You understand what I'm saying? They're watching this thing going, wait a minute now. So we have to, they're playing the card in whatever they are, controlling that narrative to see our response. Why is it necessary? Well, if we just close our eyes and go, well, they're at it again. They're at some point, then that squeaky wheel is it, nobody's going to hear it, you know, and it's like, but we're making noise over here. We're doing this. Yeah, okay. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't contain them, deal with them, but for the rest of the country, one incident with a few people gets 300 million people's attention, and all that energy and all that stuff and all those opinions are flying around. And for every opinion that's flying around, there's somebody's opinion. And to that opinion is another opinion. So they are creating a network, a spider web of thoughts with this. So it's going on, and we can either participate or not. So, you know me, I'm always talking about be aware of the situation. Be aware. And also at the same time, and I can't remember which card it is to be aware. Be aware, but also to beware. This is dangerous, you know. Be aware of the bear, because beware, the bear is dangerous, right? So possibly. So, or mountain lion or something like that, right? Vicious dog. Be aware of moccasins when you're in the swamp, you know. So, but the idea though that we don't have to fear it, and I know a lot of people, but you know, there's a yeah, you know. So be aware of it, yes, and beware if you see these conditions. But for goodness sakes, try to keep your fear out of it, because that's what they want. Now, there are a lot of those, you know, David Wilcox and those, a lot of other folks too, who talk about the loosh, you know, that there are entities that eat this. And it's sort of like, you know, what was it, the monster thing, you know, Monsters Inc., you know, with one-eyed monsters and stuff going into kids' bedrooms and scaring them and getting their energy. They have put that right dead in our faces. And it ain't just kids. So as adults, we, you know, what are they promoting? Fear, more fear. So our reaction to it is keeping that fear alive. So my fear of worrying about it is fear on a different level. So they're kind of getting me no matter what I do. So I'm like sitting here, well, I want to think about this, but I don't want to worry about it, you know? And I don't want to use the word the fear, because then that triggers that emotion or that thing, you know? So it's like, so what do we do? Well, wait a minute. So let's hash this out and let's work it out. So I was trying to think of like a workout video, like, hey y'all, let's work this out, you know, boom to the doom, you know, and do a little foot jiggy or whatever, do a little bit of, you know, hip swinging and a little bit of hand jive, and say, let's work this out, you know, and loosen up and get our underdrawers from being in a knot. And then, you know, maybe then we can find a compromise instead of violence. We can find a compromise instead of hatred. We can find a compromise in some way, shape, or form that has nothing to do with, you know, wanting to kill each other or escalating our anger anymore. So we can do this. We just keep up the work we're doing. And there are going to be things out there that's going to want to trigger your anger and your emotions. And we have got to be aware of what these folks are. Well, it's Soros, it's these folks. Does it matter? They're doing it. The control, but they're doing this control thing, yeah, and you're reacting to it. But listen, do you know that I talked about this in another video, but this is important. I think there's sort of a correlation here in that, you know, I was talking about entities and Native Americans who say, you know, there is that entity which we do not name. We don't speak its name. We don't think about it. Well, what do you mean? What is it? We don't talk about it. But what about, we don't talk about it. But, you know, so in that, you have to understand that you know about it, but we don't have to discuss it. We don't have to give any kind of energy to it. So we are always aware of the situation, and you go, dead, burn it, their sons of, and watch how they're trying to play this out. Let me see, instead of getting involved with my opinion, let's see whose opinion is what other people's opinions are doing. Let me just observe the farcity of what's going to happen with this. So, there are folks, Trump got out of, the COVID in 3 days. He was resurrected. You got to ask yourself, that's some strange symbolism right there now. On whose part? Who's playing what numbers on what days and for what? October surprise, resurrected after 3 days, goes back to the and the connotations and stuff. You got to ask yourself, what's going on here? There is a much bigger picture that and numbers and games and stuff. So if we get caught up in those numbers and games, there's somebody, some statistician sitting back with a pad and a paper going, oh, there's a reaction we hadn't considered. Let's write that one down. Well, what do you mean? There was no reaction. What? Yeah, but we did this. Yeah, but wait, are their reactions down by 20%? What the hell's going on here? Well, we better do something else. These figures must be wrong, right? So they do another thing and they blah, blah, blah. What's people's reactions? It's down. We thought it would spike. It didn't. Their reactions aren't the same. Their people are going, I see what y'all are doing. Yeah. So we're sort of in the, not necessarily the hashing it out part. Some of us are. Tee-hee. But we're in the stage of working it out because we see what other people are doing and we work out the compromise that not necessarily suits me, but something I could live with. Like, well, I really don't like this guy over here. This guy over here, he's a shithead. But between the two of them, when they calm down, they both have a point. So we fix those two key points and we compromise. And we learn to work together because it's a whole lot better than shooting at each other like the Hatfields and McCoys. A lot of folks died on both sides. For what? But to the point though, should we be that stubborn over some things? Honestly, I mean, our lives are short enough. Now, there's one thing to hold honor, but then there's times when, even as an honorable person, when I was in jail, I kept my own sovereignty. I kept who I was, but I had to do what the man said most of the time. But I still had my periods when I was able to do on my own, even in prison. So it was like, but I never gave up my own sovereignty. And some people just don't understand that. It doesn't matter where you go, as a lot of Native Americans understand. It doesn't matter where they are on the planet. They still are sovereign beings and are part of Creator. So, but anyway, with that said, one of the things in understanding this quantumness of things, the higher level, they're using different frequencies on people. Yes, they are. They're using different frequencies through the camera and lighting and so forth. Yes, they are. There are pictures and things that have metadata behind them. And, there's probably spirits flying around behind my head here. So, there are things that are here that we don't see. And then there are things that they put out there that we don't recognize, but they're still there. So you go, wait a minute, I saw that, but did you? Let's go back and replay that in slow mo and go, oops, I missed that. There was something, holy crap. What was that? So understanding that things are afoot, how do we keep our sanity? We understand that we don't become part of the asylum. That's all. And sometimes the folks running the asylum need to be in an asylum of their own. But because in the craziness of people in the asylum being run by people who try to control them, that the people who try to keep the crazies become crazy in their own way because they have to deal with crazies. Now, having worked with folks with disabilities, mental disabilities, and so forth, and there were days like Mr. Wayne when he said, "Don't bother me, Mr. No." I was like, "Well, okay, but you got to get out of the bus. Don't bother me. Come on, come on. You got to, don't bother me. Okay, but we got to go. Don't touch me." Whoops. Next thing you know, I'm on the ground and I'm being pummeled into the dirt. When he meant don't bother me, whatever was bothering him, it meant don't bother me. So we would just, leave him in the van when he said don't bother me. Whatever had happened at home or whatever triggered the event, and that we took the keys out of the van, and somebody would check on him and, leave him alone. And, if it came lunchtime and he was still sitting in the van, we took him some lunch and said, come on in, let's eat. And somewhere along the line, he would break. But if you tried to do it any other way, you were going to get the shit kicked out of you. That's just all there was to it. I mean, a 6'4", 260, 80-pound black man got his butt whooped. Okay. So, but this idea though but see, violence did not fix it. Manhandling did not fix it. When they threw me in the hospital that time against my will, when those guys grabbed me to try to throw me back in the room, I fought off 4 guys twice as big as me. These guys were huge. And I held them off for a little while. But, and I even apologized. I was like, guys, let me go. Elite, what are you doing? And they were like, you're going back in there. But grabbing me and picking me up to take me in that room, and I found out later on, was not standard operating procedures, by the way. They goofed. But somehow those tapes got mysteriously erased of that incident in Archbald Memorial Hospital. I did a video years ago about it. Anyway, so there's all kinds of weird stuff going on all kinds of levels. So sometimes we get caught up in stuff, but even in my resistance, I failed. You see what I mean? So, and then they tied me to the bed, which I untied myself. That was just hilarious looking at that nurse when she came in. I was sitting at the end of the table with my ankle bracelets and my wrist bracelets. I was sitting on the end of the bed going, "You want these back?" And she was like, what? I'm not going to harm anybody. And besides, unless you, tie it right, I'll just get out again. But anyway, but then they gave me a shot that like put me down for hours. But anyway, so I understand about this and how, being frustrated shows up as anger. But listen, I'm hungry and I'm tired and you guys took my urinal out of the room. I got to pee. And, and so instead they took that as being, he's sick, he's wrong, we're going to lock him up, and they let me pee my pants. So it's like, okay. And, and 12 hours later, I finally got something to eat and drink. Actually, it was longer than that, but it was 18 hours later that I actually got something to eat then and something to drink. So, but the idea, though, that my reaction to their violence just created more violence. So, now would I resist? No, I'd go, hey, okay, get your hands off. I'll go back. I would treat it differently. But at the time, I was also off my meds. I was in a bad state anyway. And they triggered something. But so we can trigger violence in people when they just, in a way, just, I'm all right, just don't touch me. And I've talked about this before, but in that, other people are not looking at you as a human being, that you have feelings. What they want is they want to control the situation. I've been the controller. Come on, Mr. Wade, get out of the van. You're the controller. No, don't touch me. Leave me alone. Okay, but it's my job as the person in charge to get you out of the van. But I don't want to get one ass kicking is enough for me. So I'm like, no, I'll stand out here and wait till he calms down, but I ain't going to touch him. We have to rethink this because dragging him out of the van is going to only escalate things. So if we're trying to work through a solution, the first thing we got to do is hash it out, sit down, get calm, and then find a solution. So we found solutions that didn't require any violence, but it took a couple of ass whoopings to get it there, you know? So, but we recognize the signs. We're aware of his mood and his swings, mood swings, I should say. And I was thinking behavioral swings, but there were moods and then there was behavioral swings. But anyway, but the idea though, that it was up to us to be aware. And when we were aware of the situation, we could maintain a nonviolent situation. Like I said, we had to sit down and work it out, but then there was a compromise instead of violence. So have seen many instances, was up at the Atlanta Jams about 71, I think it was. And there was some motorcycle gang, and we were up on the hill at tennis courts at this park and smoking hash and, you know, passing it between one another. And all of a sudden there were gunshots in this motorcycle gang. And I was standing there, you know, going, what's going on? And the crowd parts, and here's this great big, you know, sure enough, you know, biker dude. I was trying to think of the Devil's Massacres or something. I think it was one of the southern gangs. But anyway, with a pistol in his hand. And said, mofo, get out of my way. And I was like, dude, man, you got it. And I was like, did I almost get shot there? You know, because he was running through the crowd. And it was like what you would imagine with Moses and parting the Red Sea. And I was standing at the back of the crowd, and all of a sudden there's this madman with a gun who's already shot someone in the crowd, and I'm in his way. And I'm like, but you know, which way are you going? You going left, right, you know? And so I just kind of turned sideways, you know, versus to step one way or the other. Because I was like, okay, you know, let me turn sideways and you pick which way you want to go. Because I'm not going to confront you, you know what I mean? So, and I have thought about that a few times over the years. It was like, he could have just been pissed off and shot me right there on the spot. So after that, I had to go back up on the hill and smoke some more hash. Truly, that's the honest to God's truth. So, you know, but everybody had to, you know, let's hash it out, sit down, calm down, work it out. The police calmed down. We calmed down. The bands they were all going to like break up and go away. And we were all like, no, wait a minute. We're all here. The bands are already here. We're not, no, you know, are we good here? Yeah. Everybody's like, no, man, you know. So after a little while and things didn't escalate, that, you know, it continued. So that was because it was peaceable. No one reacted violently towards anything. We were all like, no, that crazy biker dude, you know, hey, let's go back to where we were before that event. So a couple of folks were asked to leave and stuff like that. But, you know, after a couple hours, you know, and sitting up there on the hill, smoking hash and a bunch of other stuff. We had some honest to God peyote that day. Oh my goodness, what a trip that was. But anyway, so that was a long time ago, but to the point. But in all of these things, though, where there were violence, not to say that nonviolence wins out, but as a result of it, other people could have gotten mad. There were other biker folks there. There could have been knives and stuff. And people just said, no, we're not going to do this. No, calm down, everybody. Everybody was saying, calm down. You know, are you calm? Yeah, I'm calm. Are you good? Yeah, I'm good. So we calmed each other down versus the police or anything. I mean, you know, there was like about 20 to 1 as far as cops were concerned. So they were not in control of the situation. So, but it was the people and it was our attitude. Wait, we don't want any violence. We came here to jam out, smoke hash up on the hill and chill, you know. So, but in that, I was thinking about it today and I thought, you know, if everybody could sit down and hash things out, have, you know, and which will mellow you, don't care who you are. So you mellow out a little bit now, and then you say, okay, let's work this out. Let's put it on a little bit of jam and do a little bit of soft boogie here, you know, a little soft shoe. So, and my 11-year-old friend was showing me some of her dance steps, and I was like, man, I used to be able to do that in my younger days. I'm going to go back to doing a few of my dance steps to keep me limbered up as a 68 old hippie man that refuses to get old, even though it was very difficult getting around, you know, the last day or so. But positive attitude. So I'm going to put my glasses on, going to have some coffee. This was not supposed to be a long drawn out video. And I did it early because I thought, So I want to check and see what y'all been chatting about, if I can understand any of it. Isby, great to see you. Dark Truth, Brandy. Let's see, who else is hanging around? Well, Scratch must be in the house because Brandy just said hi. Hi, Brandy. Oh, Fox, how are you? Dark Truth, Scratch, there you is. Let me go back up here. Yeah, an independent candidate ain't gonna get it day and age. Not right now. But see, where some people see it as a hopeless situation. You know, I've lived through all these presidents, right? And lived through, you know, the Clinton years and lived through the early Bush years, you know, and lived through the second Bush years. And, you know, so I'm still here and it's like, well, a lot of things have changed. But the thing is that if you allow it to eat you up or you become too much a part of the system, and I've got several friends in many different locations and places and types of work who put their life savings into their house and paying a mortgage and doing this. And some friends of mine a few years back, I don't even know if he's still alive, but he had to have major uh, open heart surgery. But he had just got done refinancing his home again, you know, and I'm like, you're already like 66, 67 years old. This has been a few years back. And I'm like, and the bank let you remortgage your house? You know, are you nuts? You know, so you literally have to work the rest of your life, even with Social Security, that's not going to be enough. Are you crazy? What? So in a way, people in trying to keep whatever it is they think is important, you know, they have sold their souls out to the system. And you say, well, they're controlling everything. Yeah, but you have choices within the system as to what you can or can't do. Well, I want to live here. Well, if you want to live there, then you're going to have to play by the dad burn rules. Well, I want it like this. Listen, if you're one person and there's 100 people there, you have an opinion and that's it, you know, and you just better hush up. Because if you piss them 100 people off, then you're going to find out, you know, you can rile some folks up if you don't keep your trap shut. So, but this idea, though, that, you know, my opinion counts for everybody. No, it don't. You know, your opinion is your opinion. There may be a bunch of us that share this opinion, and I might be vocalizing it, but that's still my opinion. If you say, yeah, I agree, then that's your opinion too. See? So by me just speaking it as an example, then it's just my opinion. So, but in this, we must learn compromise. And there are just folks who just ain't going to do it. So I find that at this day and time, Both exactly scratch. And here's the thing, you know, and I've known some very wealthy Republicans, millionaires. I almost went to work for one up in North Carolina years ago. And I won't go into the story, but it turned out pretty crappy. And he thought Native Americans was worse than five niggers, as he put it. I'm repeating what he said. But I was like, what did you just say? And I was like, I can't work for this guy. And I grew up with people. Some of my best friends are no, no, I can't work for this bigot. What now? He was a white supremacist type. Well, I don't think he would use violence, but he would use his position. You know, he'd talk to a couple of his friends and say, "Hey, don't rent to this guy. He's a lowlife." So if somebody was to try to find a place to rent or to live or something, or say, "Hey, don't give credit to this guy," locally in town or something like that. So make it really difficult. But um, so I've seen Republican bigotry and that kind of thing in the Millionaires Club and heard about their opinions years ago before I bought this place. That's how long ago that was. And then I decided I have to live within the system, but how I live within the system is my choice. So do I go for the big house and the mortgage and the this and all that? Or do I try to keep it simple? So I bought this land. I've been, basically homesteading the place. And where people, many folk that I've known, have that did very well. I mean, worked for IBM, worked for this company. I mean, had really good jobs, have had all of that taken away from them. All of it, houses and businesses and cars and things and whole businesses gone, you know. And it's like, what do they have now? Not much. Some of them have recovered a little bit, but that lifestyle that became so familiar, and I mean, they worked for it. Their salary was legit, but when the jobs moved and positions changed, and then there wasn't that for them to have, then what do? You're working at McDonald's, maybe as an assistant manager, where you were a systems manager in a large corporation making 75 to 150 grand a year, versus working $45,000 a year as an assistant manager at a store or something, or less, but so, not only economically, but the job that you had, the responsibilities you had, now you don't have them. So the importance, and your job was important because all of our jobs were important and intertwined. We checked on one another and kept things going. But as that fizzled and fell apart, then, my importance, well, I am an important person because you put me there and I do a good job. But then when you take the position away, I'm no longer important. I was important. They kept me on for over 7 years. So, I was important. Otherwise they would have fired me. So the proof was in the pudding of them keeping me. So, and I didn't want to leave, but corporations and companies and all this other stuff. And I was just like, I have a choice. I'm going to be poor. I'm not going to have, I had 3 more years, man. I would have had this place paid off, and man, I had a plan, but they interrupted my plan. And I still had 2.5 years left. So, but the thing is that I didn't have nearly as much invested as some of these people that had $250,000, $300,000 homes living in these not necessarily exclusive neighborhood. But if you live in a $300 neighborhood, $300,000 home neighborhood, you're in an exclusive neighborhood, So all of a sudden now, all of these houses are empty. So now the value of that $350,000 home and all these people in this neighborhood, half of them are now gone. The neighborhood and the value's gone down. You know what I mean? And there's no support team. There are no jobs available now for anybody to afford those houses in those neighborhoods. So the whole thing flipped. So what does this mean in the long run? There have been things in the works for a long time. So in this, who's in charge? Democrats, Republicans. In the end, it's the big wheels running the businesses that are the ones that are in charge. It's the business people. So the businesses have to make money, but at the same time, how much money? I'm talking about big corporations. Now, the firm that I worked for, they went public. And when they did, they outsourced because the company is worldwide. They outsourced the CEO to this guy from Pakistan or India, you know what I mean? And, and within 6 months, and they gave him a $3 million sign-on bonus. Okay. So $3 million later, a third of the population of the plants was cut. And then they hired him through a temp agency. So they got rid of the people, slowed down production, which increased the need for personnel. And then they rehired them if they wanted their job through a temp agency so they wouldn't have to pay the insurance and the this and the benefits and all that. What? So they could save money. But this guy got a $3 million sign-on bonus with a 1.2 something million dollar salary, where the guy before him like made $600,000 or $700,000 a year, which okay, but with a multi-million-dollar, $300 or $400 million, that our company made, and you times that by all these companies, that really wasn't that bad. But in the restructuring of the company, this guy got $3 million before he did anything. So he cut salaries and everything across the board to pay for his salary. Yeah. So the big guys with the big bucks are the guys who are in charge. Don't care. What was he, Democrat or Republican? I don't think he had necessarily a political field. He was from Pakistan. He spoke as English, but they spoke like this. It was very hard to understand them. And when they talked about things that you had to get an interpreter. What? You hear me say? So, but in this, who's in control? Neither side. That's the answer. You hear what I'm saying? A vote of no confidence. But the thing is what I've seen and what I know about the Biden thing. It just, hey, Deborah, how are you? The Fed shouldn't even be allowed. It's against the Constitution 100 years later, and it still hadn't been stopped. Yep, we are under corporate law. Yep, that's all true. So, but the thing is that, and yourselves, the more you talk about something like that, the more things want to get suppressed. Well, no, this thing about us being sovereign beings and our birth certificate, there's a lot of truth in that. But good luck pulling that. I'm a sovereign being, and I'm going to use common law. Listen to me. I have been in the system. I have been arrested too many times, but and when you go into their court, you're in their court. You got to follow by their rules. Say one word about common law, and the judge is going, bam, you're out of here, meaning you're going to jail. And you can fuss and fume and all you want to, and you can find out from the people in the prison about what habeas corpus means and what it truly means. And, I'm like, what? So it's like, because I wrote my own and sent it to the judge because it'd been 40 days and I had not had a hearing. So I was like, listen, you got me charged, but if you don't bring me before the court and do something, we got a problem here. So, about 45 days in, they granted this hearing. I'm in a small room with a clerk and the deputy, but it was like, why are you doing this habeas corpus? And because I want to be formally charged. because otherwise they can hang you in this limbo within the court system. And I don't know what they were up to, but I wasn't their man. They thought I was attached to some other drug ring or some other kind of thing. But anyway, we weren't. But they were charging us with conspiracy to deal in stolen items. And I said, wait a minute. We never said the items were stolen. We said that they were bruised items from a trucking company, a dented washing machine, a dented box on a television or something. And, because we knew people in the trucking industry. So somehow they were investigating a totally separate ring involving heavy equipment. We didn't have a clue. And they were trying to connect us to this other thing. And we were like, what are you talking about, Willis? And but at the time, they weren't paying no attention to that. They wanted to prove that we were a part of it. So there was a conspiracy to sell and deal in stolen goods. Well, what goods? Well, if you were making a conspiracy. Well, hang on. You're looking for heavy equipment. We were talking about dented washing machines. Sorry. But in that, they were trying to dream up the fact that we were trying to lie about this. So they were trying not, especially since they had me in jail, my other buddy had got bonded out. They let me to rot. But in the long run, it worked out better because my friend said, I got 9 years probation and you got out in a year. And I said, yeah, but I had 4 years probation, although I ended up only, I got off with a year and a half early because I impressed my probation officer. He's like, well, you got this piece of land. You're working for these companies. You're keeping a steady job. You got a family. You haven't been arrested and no, none of this. And, I don't have time for people like you. So I'm going to, he gave me an early release. So, and that's happened twice that I was on a serious probation. So can you work within the system? Yeah. If you prove to people that you're honest and trustworthy, and, I've had relatives who've broken probation and it's like, listen, which would you rather do? Be good for 4 years or go back to prison? Pay attention. I would rather be good. And by being good, I got off early. So all you people are like, man, it was so hard. And listen, just be good. Make up your mind. Say no to what that bad activity you're fixing to get into, And when I served my probation. I got in trouble later on. But to the point, though, I served my probation without getting into trouble, and it netted me an early release. So even in the system, you can play the system. Just be what they ask you to do. So sometimes you don't like it, and sometimes it's the thing, and there are places that have crazy laws. So what is your choice? Get out of them places. Take it upon yourself, regardless of what it is, get the heck out of Dodge and find a better place. That's why I found South Georgia. It's still got its quirks. I still got to pay too much in taxes, but it's better than some of the other alternatives in other places. My place is paid for. I got my house. But for all these people that I know, they've lost their houses. They're now renting from people in substandard. It was a lot worse in their own houses. They don't have the feeling. Now they're retired, and they don't have possession of where they're living, where before they did. So there's this, I'm dependent now on somebody else's house, where before it was my house. And now I have to worry about, paying my rent. Well, it's got to come out of my Social Security. And now, so that's less income that I have. And now I have to worry about, my who's going to own the house, and are they going to sell it, or, so there is, I don't have that to worry about, regardless of what shape my house is in. I could go set up a tent in the yard and I still got my place. You know what I mean? So, but in that, to lose home, and many people have lost their homes and what they put their lives into, and their work and their money and their trust and all that. So they're afraid already because of what's already happened to them. You know what I mean? So now this is more fear on top of it. But if we hash it out, work it out, we could find a compromise. But who's running this thing? Business. That's the answer. Business. So the Republican side at the moment, they want to put people back to work. So I say that's a good thing. Why? Because so many businesses were taken out of America. Why not bring those jobs back? Because taking the jobs out failed miserably. For them, it failed miserably. Back in the days of Clinton and everything, they talked about that the United States would become a service economy, that we would service, we're going to have all these things and we're going to be the bright ones in the world and we're going to fix everything for everybody. What happened was all these other countries and everything, they got smart people too. So they took our technologies and they took our businesses and they left people here to service you at Walmart's and at the IGA and at, the Piggly Wiggly. And because that's what happened when these big businesses pulled out, people had to go to work to Lowe's and, so you got to go, what? So, yeah, you went from making an honest, decent salary as a lower middle class citizen. But you fed your family, you had a decent car, maybe a new one, and at least a decent house to live in. And some folks, were buying their homes. And so, but when that happened back in the 205-ish and through there, it wiped out all kinds of things. So, but what happened? It made too many people dependent on the government, okay, legitimately. So, but then that was a backfire. They wanted people to be dependent, but it backfired on them because there wasn't enough, quote, support jobs for people to get work, even menial type jobs. So many people like myself, they said, well, you're overqualified. Well, yeah, I'm overqualified, but I still need a flipping job. So, but in that though, they found out that what they got was really poor. I at least showed up. I had a track record, 7-year track record of working for a major corporation. And, and you're going to hire somebody with no brains to do this job simply because you think I'm overqualified. Well, you may not stay long. Well, neither did this person for whatever reason. They're trying to establish a work history. I have one. Tough. You're overqualified. So, but what happened is in that they realized we think we went a little too far. They were going to make that Chinese deal, the Pacific Partnership thing. That would have been disastrous. We don't make semiconductors here in the United States anymore. Where Motorola and some of these people that used to have like quality names, Philips and places like that, RCA, they made the tubes and here in America. We used to make shoes in this country. South Georgia had all kinds of different sewing plants that employed all little old ladies for part-time jobs and full-time jobs. And people made money. The income was good. Everybody had some kind of job. And there were those service jobs, but even those people deserved a decent amount of pay because everybody else could participate. Now nobody can participate. The local stores are closing because that little extra money can't go down and buy that at the store. So now they can't buy their, everybody's, the income's been cut, so their purchasing power. So who does that back up to? Well, in all of this, quote, corporate money, we're going to make more money by sending it overseas. What they found out after almost 20 years and is that, wait a minute, they can't buy the products that we're making cheaply. We send it over there to make a cheaper product, not necessarily, but to make more money with the labor. But now the people that we took the jobs from can't buy the products. We can't buy it. We can't afford it. So now they're in a quandary. If we don't give them jobs back, they won't be able to sustain the governmental business. You follow me? So then things do fall apart when you're not working for the man. We must be productive in order to sustain the thing, right? But in order to sustain us, I mean, I think of all the mom and pop organizations that were around here that are no longer here, and they were legitimate businesses that people had started with a shoestring, and the family had worked hard, and then the economy changed, and within a year, like things are happening now, all the tables have turned. So what do? Well, we got to stay calm, but at the same time, are we going to trade off for this guy, the Republican view, that to build back America, we bring the jobs back? Listen, we got to bring the jobs back. We have to, because of embargoes and things. You know, I wanted to buy some semiconductors, like some little, some transistors and diodes and stuff. You have to order them from Taiwan. We don't make them here. There's a lot of things we don't make here, and there's no sense in it. We can get the materials. When a few years ago, when I was doing this big cleanup around my place of all the metal I could find, the price of scrap iron was like 9, 10, it had gotten up to 12 cents a pound. And that was just any kind of metal, didn't matter, And so 12 cents a pound, then it dropped to 10, then it dropped to 9, then it went to 8.5. Last time I did any business, it was about 8 cents a pound. So now it's about 2 cents a pound, because we were shipping all the metal. I mean, folks were begging for metal because they were shipping it, guess where? To China, because they couldn't fulfill the demand. So here we are sending all of our scrap metal across the Pacific for people to make stuff to send it back to us. What's wrong with that business model? So now the price of selling scrap iron is 2 cents, 3 cents a pound. And it really ain't worth the drive to town. So there are things that I really need to recycle, but at the same time, but anyway, it'll get done. But here's the point to that. Whereas I could make a couple of bucks off this, now it's going to pay for my gas to town. It's going to give me $5 for a trailer load of stuff. But anyway, at least I'll do something with it. What do we do in this situation? Well, we keep being aware of the situation. My money at the moment is on the person who wants to bring the jobs back to America. Why? Because it gives people a sense of worth. How many people can actually support internet business? You can sell something on the internet and it gets shipped and all that. Well, I'm going to be an IT person. Okay. How many IT people can we actually have? Well, you're servicing this and you're making money on that. But yes, now let's stop and be the grown-up in the room. What are you producing? Well, I made this thing and okay, but what did you make? Well, but I created this thing that's on the computer. I created this app and it does these things. Okay, but what did you make? But it's on the computer. Yeah, and if the computer goes down, what did you make? I'm just asking. I'm not trying to be rude, but so the lights go out. Where is your product? What do you mean? Well, you made something, but where is it? Well, it's on my computer that I can't turn on, but I could show it to you. Well, okay. Did you print it so at least I could see it? Well, no, because, it's on the computer. Now, see, I say this because I used to be a draftsman, okay? I worked in AutoCAD, and I did 3D designs and so forth. I worked for $319 million was our net profit the last year I was there. So I worked for a big company, and that was just our division. So, but the idea though that in that if the computers went down, which they did, even in-house, weird stuff happened. If you didn't print it out, then you had nothing. Well, what was that dimension? I don't know. The backups went down. Oh, holy crap. We had an issue one time where we had all done work and saved it, but that day's worth of data got hiccuped. And so everybody that created anything that day did not exist, because the backup was the day before. So the drawings we worked on, the paperwork that we had done. So what did we learn from that? Make a copy. Why? Because at least you've got the print there to go, oh, this dimension is this. Or I remember, you don't have to go looking for the numbers, because everything that day got lost. People who were working on in accounting and think, oh my God, it was a mess. One day got erased. One day. And it took us weeks to gain back what we had lost in that one day. And so we learned, print it out. At least you got a copy. So my point in this is I have experience in this too. So people who create things on the computer, I've got a hard drive sitting over there. I had no idea it was going to go kerflunk, and I didn't back up everything on it. So there's stuff on it. I'm like, damn it, Dave, haven't you learned by now? Back your shit up, Better off, put your stuff on a separate device other than your computer. So, and if you need it, plug in this other device and keep it safe. Because chances are then you won't, if I don't have anything saved on this laptop here. But there are at least addresses and things that I've looked up. So, but I was thinking the other day, I need to write those down in my little book, because I want to go back and I might not actually remember what that IP address is or what the name was or the .com. I can at least write it down, because when I lost that other computer, I can't remember where the ding was and I was looking for something. I was like, I should have wrote it down. Or maybe if my printer worked, I would have printed it. But to the point though, if our system fails, we've lost those things we've created. So my question is to those folks, have we actually created something? So, but in this world of stuff, manufacturing jobs and things like that require IT people and like that. But without manufacturing and without these other jobs, there wouldn't be any necessity at all. People who think they have something that's worthwhile, it's just ones and zeros and ones. And if you don't have a copy of it, it's like the people who are buying gold and silver when Hurricane Michael went through 2 years ago, what mattered was change, coins, money, because none of the computers worked and nobody could convert gold or silver. So all these people were certificates and all this stuff. I've talked about this before, but you're better off with just getting $20 and hiding it under your mattress, because if you can't get to the bank, if the electronics are down, you don't have anything. You have zero. Why? But it's in the bank. No, it ain't. No, because it's a number. Well, I can go to the bank like the run on the banks back in the 30s, and now everything's digital and the computers go down. Where did our money go? I don't know. Our backup is a week old. So all the transitions within the last week weren't recorded. We lost all that. Yeah. So we don't know if you really have $500 in the bank, Mr. No. But I got a receipt. Aha. There you go. That's proof. But I've got this app that said I had this much on the card. Where did you print it? No. Does it have your account on it? No. Do you have any proof of it? No. But I have this app on my phone and it said, is there a copy? No. Good luck. So we have become dependent on a system that could forget at any moment, whether on purpose or not. But we have been driven to this cashless society with the idea that everything's going to be just fine. Well, I'm just saying, I'm not necessarily worried about the AI taking over. Hi, Bob, and your cousin. I'm worried about glitches in the system, whether it's hacked or not. Working for this company, I mean, there was almost 800 employees there, and a lot of us had computers. And when the system went down, all of us, the whole system, everything, we lost a day and a half's worth of data. Now we have to recreate it. We got to go back through. We got to go, and it's going to keep us from doing today's stuff, because today's stuff is related to what we supposedly did yesterday. So every day piles up in front of the next day because you're still trying to retrieve the data. So the data gets lost. It gets forgotten. The backup goes down. The cloud rains, and all of a sudden there's no water in the clouds in the sky, meaning our data. So then what do you do, my friends? Do you have a copy? Well, no. I've got picture of family and friends. Yep. They're on the computer. Yep. Some of them are on Facebook. Yep. But do I have a printed copy of them? No. Now that's shame on me. But to the point though, I've got pictures, but I don't have them. So the computer goes down, like what happened to me one time. I lost all these pictures of my grandkids and of other things. And, but wait a minute. Whoops. Did you print them? No. Which reminds me, I need to get a new printer and start printing some of these things that I do have. That sounds like a really good thing to do this winter when it's too cold to really want to go out and get frozen to death. But printing stuff off. Now that could, that's a good thing. So I realize that I need to print some of these things too for my own benefit. I mean, my granny and everybody, they had pictures and Polaroids and things like that. And, I still have boxes full of Polaroids from back in the 30s and the 40s and all through my lifetime. But, there are pictures of me that only exist on the computer or on the cloud or out there somewhere. So, when I'm gone, they're going to be say, well, what's the most recent picture a day? Well, it's 20 years ago. That was the last one that was printed. Well, but there are no pictures of him on the internet. Not that anybody wants to collect my picture, but to my point is that there wouldn't be anything. So the glitch goes down, Hawkeye disappears, but were there any pictures? Well, no. Well, somebody might have a picture on a something or other. I've had a lot of pictures taken of me doing the puppet shows and things. So somewhere there probably in somebody's computer or thing, a picture of the kids at the puppet show, and I might be in it. But was it printed out? That's my point of this. So in this, everything is made up. But now, which guy do you want? We need jobs back. I realize that. Does that mean we're still going to be working for the man? Yeah, it is. But what else are we going to do? We can't live off of each other with people, well, I make herbal, and this isn't being mean now. Well, I make these herbal things for people. Okay. Well, but what are they selling? Well, they're selling t-shirts. Okay. Well, where are they getting the t-shirts? China. Okay. Well, people are repurposing things. Okay. But so there was a $3 t-shirt that they got at a yard sale that they're going to sell for $20. Now that's entrepreneurship, but at the same time, is there actually, if things turn differently, going to be somebody that has that kind of money to support your artistic thing? Where's the manufacturer that made the t-shirt? Where are the people that's going to make the stuff? Where are the things? There is a support group here. So if we don't have people working in the system, then the system isn't going to function for the things we really want. But because people aren't aware of the bigger picture, like Hawk, see the bigger thing, we want jobs back. We want certain things made here again. All right. There are people who could use these jobs to feel good about themselves and be able to buy something extra, like buy a new front door on their house, buy a new this or that, or pay somebody to fix their roof. to do something like that. I used to be able to, to sell my engineering expertise and what I've learned about machining. There's not any place around here that needs my expertise anymore because all the businesses are gone. All the manufacturers are gone. All these folks are gone. So what used to be a backup side job for me, it does not exist for me or anyone else. So bring these things back and it will make everything better. Will we still be working for the for the bosses and the thing? Yeah, indirectly or directly. The answer is yes. Yes, we will. But we can have fun at it. For me, I chose to be an engineer and ended up working in a high end, my life's dream. And had it not got sent to Mexico, I, could have retired there and had plenty of money and my backup, and it would have been great. But other people had different ideas. So, but who ruined it? The business, the guy in charge of the business. Was it other people in the company? No, but it was the guy they hired who has this global thought in mind. So we need to bring global back to the house. I can sell something around the world, but I ain't selling my job to the folks on the other side of the planet. Sorry, I'll show you how to do it for you guys, but I'm keeping my job and I will send you prototypes. I will make product for you in case your product goes down. We will be, you know, makers of a similar product and have just competition. Normal business. Everybody's got to be a millionaire. When my grandpa was alive, I remember him telling me as a young boy, he said, "Son, um, it's not it's not that you have to make a lot of money, it's that you have to make enough money." And he ran a little grocery store. So he could charge 20 cents more for a can of peas or something, or he could do this and that. So I was like, "Grandpa," because I used to put labels on the cans. "Grandpa, why does this can this and that?" "Well, this is this," and there was a chart. And he had three or four different rows on this chart that he had for pricing. So he bought it at this price, looked down the chart, and the suggested retail price, was this. So um, I would say, "Well, how come you don't use that one?" He said, "Because, we live in a poor, the business is in a poor neighborhood." He said, "I want them to be able to afford to buy this can of peas. Um, and I'm making enough money so I don't need it." So he had what he needed, but without being greedy. And so I've always had that in my heart. But the idea, though, that with other things that we see or do in our lifetime, we can affect people in different ways. So the guy that's overcharging, it's like when I found out how much CVS was overcharging for my prescriptions, I immediately stopped going there and went to a local pharmacy who charged two-thirds less than what CVS did, gave me less hassle than CVS did. I could call it ahead of time and they would have it ready when I got there. No long lines, not a bunch of stuff. And when you're on Medicare, you get a thing at the end of the year, how much you spend on stuff, And I was like, I saved Medicare thousands of dollars by shopping with a local pharmacy who gave me a better price and better service. 15 years I've been dealing with the pharma because I knew the pharmacists at two of the CV, one in Moultrie and one in Thomasville. And the last time I was at a CVS, he looked at me and said, "I think I'm going to be going private." He said, "This just ain't working anymore." And that was the last time I'd been to a CVS for anything. When I saw what their markup was, I'm like, making a buck is one thing, but seriously overcharging, now that's just highway robbery. That's just robbery. So, but anyway, we need to bring things back to the United States. People need to have jobs. I mean, in the old days, pioneers, uh, until you got old and crotchety like me, where it was hard, but folks still worked, Old Uncle Joe, was moving kind of slow at the junction, Petticoat Junction. But the idea, though, that even old folks can contribute stuff, um, you know, sometimes it's just to look after the grandkids once in a while, but that don't happen anymore. But anyway, the idea that what we should do is back off of being upset about stuff, keep an eye on these crazy people, and understand, you know, we have to vote for the lesser of two evils. And, that's what they said in the cotton field. They had to vote on the lesser of two weevils. Um, but the idea, though, that it's important for us to see that it exists, and you say, well, do I want these folks over here who are really looking for this, or do we want to stick with these folks who are being more constitutionalist? Now, to my point about this now, and how they're making mumbo jumbo of the Constitution, what we should seriously be concerned with is, are we actually being constitutional? So the question needs to be raised by us, the citizens, is whether or not it was constitutional to change to a corporation all them years ago. So someone, and if these people were in agreement, and a lot of us know about this, we should go back to that old Constitution and get out of this, we're a corporate business, which would change a lot of things and make government a lot more easier. Although a lot of did I say pill pushers? Them people too would suffer. But a lot of these pencil pushers and people who deal with numbers on a computer and databases would have to learn how to do something. I mean, actually produce something, not manage or do or speculate or, whatever. No, get a job. Learn to do something. Be of value, not some made up thing. But anyway, I mean, they're still going to need, economists and folks and these. But I've seen some of these think tank people, and some of these people were making $150,000 a year. And I'd listen to them and their side of the story and what they propose, and I go, "You people are morons! And how much money are you making? And you want to do what? Are you serious?" Yeah, they are. And these other people in the room, well, but he's got a degree. But he's an idiot. When I left Prestolite, there were all these Republican people standing around. I said, listen, now at the time, I said, you think your Republican is doing all this great stuff. I said, I ain't saying that the Democrats are right, but this idea of George Bush, I said, I guarantee within 6 months, half of you will be changing your tune. And within 3 months, half of the people in that room were gone. They had lost their jobs through the other man, So which man do you want to work for? Now one could take this to the spiritual side and go, now, I believe in the Creator, all right? And then there are the people who believe in God, that person that's written in the Bible. I don't ascribe to that entity because he's mean and nasty and I'll smite your ass. And the Creator, to me, ain't like that. So how I feel about that. So which would I rather believe in? The God that's going to strike me dead and smite me and all this other stuff, or the Creator of the universe who is loving and caring and forgiving, especially when we try to change our vibrations? Or do I, so which man do I want to be dominated by? This one over here. Ain't having nothing to do with that God, So which one who would you rather work for? Well, I'm not saying that Trump is God, not even close. But to the idea of what they're trying to transform, whether they're right or wrong, I see it being more correct than the other side at this moment in time because of bringing things back to the United States. That's my biggest thing. Bring it back here. Let us deal for us. You know, a neighborhood store or somebody, you know, I would much rather go to the local True Value than to go down to the big box store. A little bit more expensive, but I've been doing business with these people for almost 50 years, and I would rather see them stay in business than to keep, you know, Lowe's alive or somebody like that. You know what I mean? So, and there were a lot of other mom and pop organizations. If they were still here, I would be supporting them, but alas. So in this, how do we deal with this? We adapt. We try to support those people that need supporting versus big box. We know we're going to pay a little bit more. Let's keep an eye on things. Is this guy right or not? Well, which is he supporting? Well, he's about abortion or not about abortion. No, what does he want about jobs? What about taxes and jobs? What about support? And I don't mean like social services and that kind of support, but I mean, those of us on Medicare and Medicaid, that some of the rules need to be changed some. Like a millionaire only has to pay up to $300,000 of his worth. So if you make $1 million, you only pay Social Security on 300,000 of it. Now Trump raised that. Okay, it was much lower. He didn't raise it enough, in my opinion. If I made $100,000, which I never did, but just to keep the zeros right, if I made $100,000 and I paid 10%, I don't know what the going rate is, but I'm just going to keep the decimals right. So I make $100,000 and I have to pay 10%. Okay, so that's $10,000 of my $100,000 that I got to pay in Social Security. I don't think it's that high, but just keeping the zeros right. So, but a person who makes $1 million only has to pay up to $200,000. So he made 10 times more than me at 100,000, but only has to pay basically 10% more. Instead of it being here on $20,000. So this idea of anybody that makes, if I made $500,000, the cutoff is still at 250 or whatever the lid is. If they removed the lid off of the Social Security, and people are going, I made $1 million, but my 10% then would be $100,000. Yeah. So I only made $10,000, but I had to pay $1,000. Okay. You don't think that $1,000 I could have used? You made $1 million and you're bitching about 100,000. Oh, but that's a lot of money. So's $1,000 to me. Well, but you made 10,000, but I paid my 10%. Why aren't you paying your 10%? So if they just paid what's there, if everybody paid their fair share, it's not about raising taxes or making a flat tax. If those people who have set the rules played by the rules they set for the rest of us, oh my, college really would be free. So I voted for Bernie the first time around, because some of his ideas made sense. And then when I found out the cap on Social Security, I was like, wait a minute, you're going to penalize me, but they only have to pay a certain percentage because they're millionaires or because they made over that limit. Now, if I made $500,000, so that'd mean $50,000 would be my tax if it were 10%, just to keep the zeros, right? So this idea, but I made $500,000. I'm going to pay into the system. So, but wait a minute. No, I made 500,000. Why should I pay that much in? I should be, I should get a credit. No, you shouldn't. You should pay the same percentage as everybody else. Fix a lot of stuff. Keep things on an even keel, and would keep fear and craziness out of the universe. Pamela, hi. You're still on the fence about the whole ego thing. I've been shamed once too often for not living up to beauty standards. Oh, screw beauty standard, Pamela. Taxes are BS. Yeah, but if people would only pay, if they just paid their fair share, I don't care how much money you make, you don't get no breaks. If I make 10 grand and I got to pay 10%, then you got to pay 10% on all your salary. That's all. Fair is fair. But that's a crap load of money. Yeah, but you made $1 million. But I had that means I got to pay $100,000 to the government. I had to give that same, let's make it across the board. It's already there, but the rich folks get to change the rules. So let's take those rules away. We have to have people in Congress that will listen to us and go, no, you take that cap off. If it's 10%, don't care how much they got of theirs, it's 10%, then they must pay. Poor people, 10% of their salary is a shitload. And but 10% to a millionaire ain't squat. So let's make this even. Should we give the poor people any extra? No, but if the rich people honestly paid their fair share, not just what the government said, they should lobby the Congress to say, listen, we've been privileged long enough. We don't feel this is right. Do you hear any of them complaining? No. So once you get rich, well, I got here and I worked hard all my life and I deserve it. Yeah, but don't you deserve to pay your fair share too? Isn't that the honorable thing? So too many people getting into places that they're not, well, I'm going to take this tax credit. But you're rich. Yeah, but I'm going to take this tax credit. Well, the rest of us schlummers have to pay it. You know what I mean? So let's pay our fair share. Now, we do. I have over the years. I've paid my fair share and some more. But in looking at how do we get this out of here, we tell our congressman, fair share. The playing field must be shared. How do we stop some of this animosity and violence and things? If people saw that those people that they're claiming are white race supremacist folks, if those people, some of that really are those, if they honestly paid their fair share and showed it to the public and said, look, I'm actually paying what you paid. I'm not getting a break anymore. I'm paying my fair share now. People would go, well, you made $1 million, but wait a minute, you honestly did pay that much in taxes? Fairly? Well, okay, maybe I'll shut up a little bit. Not more than, but pay your fair share, just like the rest of us. So I think it would calm, is there a compromise in some of this? Oh, you betcha. Because them folks who got the payola, for whatever reason, don't want to get it up. But they got so much of it now, they can't do, come on. What's fair is fair. So we need to bring fairness back into everything, but you demand that you do it my way. Now, there are certain times when those people are going, I ain't giving up. I'm sorry. I ain't going to pay, I made $10 million last year, but I ain't paying 10% of my salary. No, ain't happening. But so somebody needs to be the grown up in the room and go, sorry, but all these tax breaks and all this stuff, adios. Now that might end up meaning a flat tax, but there are already taxes there that they're taking advantage of in their tax break because they made it up. Does that mean we have a flat tax? The tax is already there. If we take away the privileges, everybody pays a fair share then. We don't need a flat tax if you take out this other, if we make everybody pay the same percentage, if we made everybody go by the same rule, not, well, if you made this and then you got a special deduction and you can write this off and that law, you bought a new airplane, so that's a tax loss, and oh, screw it. No, pay taxes. You buy something, you pay the tax to buy it. Okay, so you buy food, well, maybe, but if you buy any kind of other thing other than food, all right, and maybe some types of food, but that you're going to pay taxes on any type of goods. So we're already paying taxes, but if everybody pays the same, I'm good with that, but they don't, and that's the problem. So we, the peons, should force, if anything, pay your share to those that can afford it, especially. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting here in this chair and it's hot. Let me see what y'all got up. Scratch. The system is rigged so they always win and the people will always go one team. That's true, especially if you don't pay attention. And it's like all these people who want you to invest your savings in gold certificates and silver certificates. And well, these are great. Here's the thing, what I meant to say about Hurricane Michael that proved to those people who had these pieces of paper and who had stuff on their iPad. I had money stashed, because I know better. And so when they couldn't deal in anything electronic, they could still count out cash. So I could go to the store and still buy stuff, even though the lights were out, and still buy commodities. I could buy gas where there was electricity for the pumps to run. Other people, all they had was a card. So we know about these things. We pay attention to some of these things. So be aware of the situations that could arise and beware that crap can happen at any time. I was watching an old episode of Warehouse 13, and this is just today, which sort of prompted this sort of part of this, in that they found this artifact. It was an orchid, and that if the orchid ever touched the ground or touched anything but this special container, it released a toxin, a pandemic across the world. And back during the Black Plague and things like that, that is what's happened. And it took these, special folks to capture and fix this thing. But there wasn't anything medical that could be done for these people because of what it was. And in this episode, the whole planet was quarantined, and everybody went in and everybody was wearing masks, and all these people were reacting. And there were actual NBC clips of somebody talking about, said NBC right on the thing, so in the program. So I'm like, I'm watching this thing that's, I don't know, 15, 20 years old, and it's happening now. So have they been forewarning us of whether they plan to do it or not? That's not the point. But the fact that it's going on, and they have been showing these things to us right along. I mean, it was so scary. It was season 4 episode, I can't remember, but it was with the orchid, and it's on the Peacock channel. You might be able to find Warehouse 13 on another channel, but anyway, in looking at the science and the sci-fi-ness of it, it was remarkable how much, well, if we send this stuff to the CDC, they can make this thing. Well, the CDC has had this virus, but at this moment, they can't create anything. I mean, it's just weird correlations and relations, and the fact that it was NBC it could have been some other local news station that was reporting this. No, it's at NBC right down at the bottom of the on the frame, when it was up on the screen. So anyway, and I think, well, NBC, wow, they're showing the same similar types of clip, but it's real. Holy crap. Anyway, so my friends, I love you. I do. I hope you've had a decent weekend. These weeks to come, supposedly between the 10th and the 14th, namely the 12th, and this is the 11th at the moment, So within an hour and 59 minutes, it'll be the 12th. Been a lot of predictions about this date. Do I want to put any effort into this? No. But do I want to make you aware of it? Yeah. Because other people are considering it an important date. Don't know why, but when the signs are out there, you know, if you see bear scratches on the side of a tree and sap's running out, that's a fresh trap. That's a fresh scratch. Be aware that there may be a bear. Be aware there may be a bear to be aware of, or to be aware of. Anyway, you get my drift. So let's keep an eye on the dragons that are coming at us. Yeah, Brandy says, let's all get rock tumblers and trade pretty rocks. LOL. We decide what they're worth. But on our terms, yes. And Brandy, to that point, there's just a mile and a half up the road from me is the road. It's called Thigpen Trail 202. It's also got another name, but locally. But anyway, the Thigpen Trail goes all the way up through the Carolinas. I mean, you know, so, and what it was a trading route all the way down to Panacea and down south of Tallahassee to the ocean. So in the wintertime, folks would travel, and other times too, but it was a trading route all the way up into Connecticut or something, a long way up. And so there were traders that would, how did seashells get into North Carolina and other places? Because while they were down here fishing and catching things and doing stuff in the wintertime when it was too cold up north, they would come down, fish, dry out the fish, do stuff, collect pretty shells and things while they were here, and then carry it back up into the mountains and for places up north. So they traded the shells like money, because to the people who couldn't attain a shell, that shell became valuable. So that was the value placed upon it, similar to what Brandy's saying. So a shell necklace to somebody who really wanted it might be worth 2 beaver hides because they could not get shells. But did the shells in and of themselves have any value? The answer is no. They were made to be valuable. So the things that we create, here's my point in this, the things that we create are valuable. But what if what we create is digital only and you have no proof? Then you have no value. If you carve something, make a rug, paint a painting, if you do something like that, it still has value. So be careful where we place our value. Now, to those, and I keep referring to those people who get gold and silver certificates, even if they had the gold in their hand, when they went to the local store, they could not use it. But I got gold, so, but I got gold, so then I need $10 worth. But all I got's this chunk. Well, I can't convert it, so go home and eat your gold. So unless it can be traded, unless the purpose, and you see what I'm saying? So having an item doesn't necessarily make it worth anything. If you're trying to build a house and somebody says, here, I'll help you out, here's some gold, or I've got a hammer and a saw, which would you prefer? Well, if you're trying to fix your house or something, you need a hammer and a saw. So you might say that gold ain't going to do me no good because I can't get to a store. I can't trade it for nothing. So, mister, I'll take the saw and the hammer because those are tools I can use. Other things are values we place on them. But if nobody values what we think it's worth, then it's worthless. So, in this new age of things, I think it's important for us to take a different look of what we consider valuable to us. You know, I don't want anything bad to happen, trust me. But it's already happened. It's happened again down in the South with this other hurricane. People are learning if electricity ain't on and you don't have no cash, I can't barter with you, but I'll take your money. You got any coins? You got any rolled up quarters somewhere? You got something, in your couch, got any spare change? That's that is the value of things at the moment. So we need to understand, don't care where you are, if it's in the fire or if it's in a flood or a tornado area, no power, no this or that, you ain't got nothing. It's zero. But I got $1,000 sitting in the bank. No, you don't. But it's in the bank. Yeah, go to the bank. Well, the bank doesn't have any electricity. Then how much money do you have? Nothing. But it's in the bank. Yeah, okay. But I can get to it tomorrow, for a hamburger today. No, we need to trade something. You know what I mean? Let's be careful. They're trying to convince us of other things and what is valuable, when we need to pay attention to what is being shown to us every single day around us. What really is valuable? That new plan from Verizon, just saying. Or a set of walkie-talkies that'll go 20 miles and that you could pick up other people's signals. Just saying, in a situation. Deborah says the best polisher can make any old rock look like a gem. Agreed. But here's the thing. It may look like a gem, but does it still have value? It's only of value to the person who wants it. We place a value on something, but then other people look at it and go, it ain't worth it. Or that's too much. Or what would I want to buy that for? So the value is in the eyes of the beholder. The value is in the purchaser, not in the seller. Now, the seller has to get a certain amount to make a profit. But Billy's eye could handle a needle, miss something. Right. People around me, said Brandy, say, can we not talk about this stuff? Piss me off like I can. Can we quit pretending this shit ain't going on? Save the children. Yep. Yeah, Scratch. I've been the same way. And this is what I've learned in my many years of, fighting the system. If you're going to get along at all, you have to play the system. And people, I don't just listen, find out, look, I can go over here and have minimal damage to myself, my family, but now I can jump in both feet into the system and get gobbled up by it. So I chose to use the system along the edges. So there were a lot of things that got handled with cash. And simply because it was easier and somebody'd write me a check. But because I was applying for disability, I could not show that I had any income. But at the same time, I had to pay my bills. So, if I got a little extra job for a day or two, to make $50, I cashed the check. I didn't deposit the check in my account. So unless somebody knew that I did work, then I had cash in my pocket and there was no record on my end. But the people who wrote me the check, it was in their book. But unless you knew that I worked for them and they had the subpoena records and, so nobody knew how much money I actually made. So, and it wasn't like I was making thousands of dollars. I was barely getting by. I mean, I was literally eating out of garbage cans, the big trash cans out and back behind stores and stuff, old produce and things like that, and I ate pretty well, but, but I still had to, and then they started locking them. So, poor people couldn't get the old vegetables and eat them, they had to rot and go to the landfill. So, I've been on so many levels of how do you survive in this. So, I had a friend of mine he survived doing that, living out of dumpsters and do it, not in the dumpsters, but fishing and doing that. And he got food, he got appliances, he got things and stuff. He bartered, trades, sold at pawn shops for cash. So the amount of money that he made was never put in the bank. So he lived like that. But he chose it, okay? He didn't have electric bills. He lived off the grid. He didn't have a telephone, and he had a truck and things, and but the idea, though, he made a choice that he could live off of less. He chose that he understood, I can live off a head of lettuce and make some stew and a thing with some old potatoes I find in this dumpster, And when I was really poor, I'd go buy the dumpsters or the garbage cans at KFC. And what you did was you cased the joint. So there's some people in there with a couple of kids. Now the kids ain't going to eat the coleslaw, okay? They may eat the mashed potatoes, but they're going to probably just eat the chicken. So that means there's coleslaw and maybe potatoes that haven't been drooled on. So you go, okay, so when that family leaves and they throw it in the garbage, you go pull that box out. Sure enough, there's some coleslaw and this and that. Ooh, somebody didn't eat their potatoes. Ooh, there's a piece of chicken ain't nobody ate off of. They threw a wing away, or there's they left a leg or something. So, but they throw it away. So we would collect these things, okay? And at the end of the day, you had several pieces of chicken. Somebody said, but somebody could have drooled on it. Yeah, and I could go hungry too. So but when the coleslaw's in those cups with a lid, there's nothing wrong with it. And if you saw them put it in the garbage, then it hasn't had a chance to get tainted. So, and when you're starving, you don't really give a shit. But if you choose to live that way, but if you're made to live that way, great big difference. So, and I know somebody who had property all over, lost her home, got homeless, offered her a place to stay here. And she said, I'd rather kill myself as to come down here and slum at your house. And I was like, what? Well, because they had literally $100,000 homes, 2 or 3 of them, one up in Sandy Hill and one in Atlanta, and 1 or 2 down here. And she was in realty and he was in construction. He passed away and the market changed and she lost it all and became homeless. And, oh my God. But then say, well, I couldn't live at your house because, you don't have central heat in there. Yeah. And you don't have this. Yeah. And you don't have that. Yeah. But it's a house and it's here and it's, it's got electricity and you can have a fan and, no, sorry, I would rather kill myself because it meant that she would have to live in what she considered was substandard. And I was like, what? I'm sorry, I've lived in cardboard boxes. I have lived in the back of cars. Me. And I consider my place needs work, don't get me wrong. But to the point that, listen, with your help as a realtor and a contractor and stuff, and a little pitching in, which I need help. So you help me and we could make this place look better. Oh, I don't like the design. I don't do that. Yeah, but it's solar. Don't care. If this place were mine, I'd get a bulldozer and push it down. Now, she could very well be dead by now. And it's a shame. But the idea that when people who have had a certain standard of living, they see no purpose in living if they cannot maintain that standard. And they will lie, cheat, and steal to try to keep that standard of living at the expense of someone else's heartache, money, inconvenience, don't care. As long as their standard of whatever it is they're living is. So, how do we change these things? We look at our own lives and say, it's not that you should, but consider, well, wait a minute, am I living beyond me? Am I doing something? Is what I'm doing or paying all this money out to this or that or this, is it really necessary? Maybe I could actually give this money to someone. versus spend it on something. Well, down the line, somebody's going to get paid for something. I mean, if you buy you know, a dollar gizmo at the Dollar Tree, cumulatively, the cashier's getting paid, you know, the electricity company, the thing, the people bring it in the trucks, there are jobs to that, you know. So there are things, there is value to us. You can't give it back to them, but you think, well, but I spent that dollar. Yeah, did you need it? No, but I've looked at it and said, but I am helping to support a job. Somebody's got to bring it, somebody's got to sell it, somebody's got to put it on the shelf. So I am supporting the economy. Now, if I could get this item at a local store, I would rather that. But so you have to go to this store to get it. But there again, what is the value placed on it? So anything in a dollar store, the value must only be $1. And I've gotten some things in a dollar store to myself I had valued in other stores at $4 or $5 or $6. Found the same item in another store for $5 and go, same packaging, same everything, but $5 more. So at another store, it has a greater value to the people who are selling it. But if you go to the dollar store, it's still only $1, you know? So it's a really skewed system. But so let's take a look at some of these things in our own personal lives and go, hang on here. Let me see. Now, the local hardware store, I've been supporting them. I bought my heater from them last year. They say hi to me when I come in. They know my name. I shake hands with the manager, and we've known each other for years. And so it's like, I'm gonna keep Bale Mercantile and Moultrie alive. I'm gonna still buy stuff from them. Yes, it's a little bit more, but I like these folks. Have liked them all my life. They're the first people to ever give me credit of any kind. So I'm going back. What has Lowe's done for me? Nothing. What has Home Depot done? Nothing. What did these people do? They gave me credit when I needed it. They gave me credit to buy my stove, so I could pay it over a 2 or 3 month period. Although they said payable in 30 days, they only charged me extra for the service, but they knew I was going to pay it because I always had over the last 40 years. So is it important? Yeah. So learn contacts locally, get to know some folks, find out where the true value of certain things, because I know I've got some stuff that I thought would be worth something later on. And come to find out, it ain't worth but about $5, $10. Well, this should be worth $50 in 20 years. Nope, $5. But why? Because a bunch of other people have one that flooded the market. You see, I have a Dumbo, the elephant cookie jar. It's double-sided. And so you can turn the head, but you can also turn the whole body, and it's 2 separate Dumbos. And it was my grandmother's, and it was, of all the things I wanted of Granny's, I wanted Dumbo cookie jar. And because it reminded me of her, and they always called me Dumbo because of my big ears and my shaved head. And so, and it was a memorabilia, so it was worth something to me. So a couple of years ago, things got tough, and I had a little conversation with Granny, and I was like, you know, I really could use some money right now. And she was like, see if you can sell the cookie jar. So I went out onto eBay and places, and I looked around, and the best I could get for like absolute mint condition, no missing paint. And I don't know where some of the paint on this one is gone, but it's missing. So it isn't in perfect shape. There's no nicks or dings, but there is some surface cracking, but I think that's just from age. But you know, $20. And I'm like, it probably cost 10 when they bought it in 1940 something, you know? So the idea that here's something that could have a value in the future ends up not having very little value at all, very little above what was actually spent. So, you know, but it was still Granny's. Now I really don't want to sell it, you know? But when I'm gone, is anybody in the family going to give 2 shits about that cookie jar or what it meant to me or to grandma or anything like that? Because it was an anniversary present to her. So it meant a lot to Granny. So, and it meant a lot to me because Granny kept the cookies in it when I was growing up. And it was hers, and she cherished the cookie jar. So, but is anybody in my family going to cherish it like I do? Probably not. And that's a shame, but I'm carrying the legacy, but it's probably going to get sold at a yard sale for $5. You know, oh, look, Dumbo cookie jar. Ain't this cool? So the value of the cookie jar is only intrinsic to me. But now I wouldn't sell it for anything because there's so many of them out there. And, you know, where I thought this was going to be like, woo. But then things turned for me, and I was like, I'm so glad I did not get to the point where I thought I might have to sell it. And then I realized, no, $5, $10, $20 ain't going to get it. If I don't get 100 out of this thing, then it ain't getting sold. It wasn't worth $100 to the market. So therefore, I wasn't selling it because that's what I felt it was worth. You follow my drift. Yeah, I hate phones for texting too. Hey, Mossy Man, how are you? Project Skyfalls. Nanodust. Yeah, it's all around us. If my immune system can't deal with an illness, so be it. They ain't never putting anything in me ever again. And if they harm my kids, they'll need to immigrate to another planet. Scratch, I understand. I really do. And they're going to try to force us into take a shot. But here's the thing. When I was at the doctor over 3 years ago now, she was like, so time for your annual flu shot. And I went, well, doc, you know, you've heard me talk about this before. And I said, well, doc, the last couple of times I got the flu, I got sick from it. I didn't do well for several weeks and I hurt. She goes, oh, then you're allergic to it. And I went, well, doc, I don't know. She goes, you're allergic to it, right? Wink, wink, nod, nod. But doc, you're allergic to it, aren't you? Yes, I am. I'm allergic to the vaccines. I'm allergic to the flu shots. And she goes, good. She wrote it down in a little medical book. So there is medical history of me having allergic reactions to the flu shot. Now, if there's anything that you can do between now and whenever to prove that fact or to get it in your record to say, I'm sorry, but I'm allergic to them. I can't take flu shots. But you must. I can't. You will kill me. You know. Let me record this. They're making me take this flu shot, and I've already warned them that I am allergic to flu shots. If anything happens to me, sue these people right here. And this person giving me the shot. What's your name? John Doe? Okay. You know, here's my cell phone. Here's your picture. What, you don't want me to record this? Then you ain't giving me a shot. You know. What other insurance do we have? We've got that, whether they will allow us to or not. But somebody else needs to be like, you know, if you're going to make me get a shot, then I want you to videotape it from over there, me getting the shot, and that they're making me do it. Okay, let's get to, because the more the people are saying, no, I don't think so. How do we protect ourselves? That's going to get people's attention. You know how one video can go viral? They show that they're holding somebody down and making them take a flu shot that may kill them because they already know they're allergic to some of the. Are you serious? So we do this enough times. Can some of us maybe lose our lives or something happen to us? Yes. But there are always those people, you know, the patriots in the old days, the true revolutionaries against the blue coats, you know, or the red coats, or, you know, any of them coats. It was the red coats, wasn't it? Yeah. But to the point, though, that, you know, people died, but some of us might have to do that sacrifice. And I think enough of us already have. I think some of these cancers and things that some of these children get, I think they get them because they're having allergic reactions to all of the different immunizations they have to have. Now, not all of them, but, you know, with all these kids having to have all these shots and vaccines, you know, back in my day as a parent, I would have said, what? How many shots are you going to give them before they're? No, thank God it was before now. But all the shots they have to have now with the this shot and the thing. Well, what if your daughter gets this? Well, you know, any of us could get anything, but you're going to give me a shot with an active virus that my system's going to try to become immune to, and actually it kills me. Oh, but we can't complain after you were dead. That's the end of that story. So we should be careful. Are we going to have some serious decisions to make? Some of us are. They're going to have to hold me down, but I want somebody to videotape it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you're going to do this to me, then you videotape me, and if I die or have an allergic reaction or get Alzheimer's, you know, tomorrow and become a blithering idiot. See, they did that to me before. What turned me into a mental maniac and almost killed me was an experimental drug that my neurologist gave me. And when it turned me into a mushhead and almost killed me, he redacted any statement and said that I was not following his instructions, and that, get this, I was faking grand mal seizures. True story. So could I have any rebate or anything against the drug makers? Up to this point, no. And I should call Banzel. They should have banned it. But, you know, the proof that I tried to get, there was like, well, it was inconclusive. Really? I went from walking and talking to being pushed in a wheelchair in a month's time from taking your drug. But you're telling me it's my fault and I'm faking it. So, been there, done that. And these people will try to convince you it's your fault because you didn't follow their instructions. Been there, done that, I'm telling you. And also during the mental health thing, 25 years in and out of mental health, right? And they kept pushing different drugs. And some of these things were dangerous. You will take this medication as instructed. So when I wouldn't, I just didn't tell them. There was one pill I could take every other day, and I felt good. If I took one every day, I went psycho. And people around me saw it. Dave, you know, that's too much medicine. Yeah, but if I don't take it, they won't see me. And I can't get these other services. And so, but if you don't play, so the game is, you tell them, yeah, I took it. Yeah, I'm taking that amount. Ooh, this is great then. So if they say, we're going to double your dose, all you do is say, okay, I'll double my dose. I still have pills upstairs where I didn't take the double dose. Why? I wanted proof that I had them. Anyway, but to the point, though, of stuff, so I refused to allow it, and I refused to take those things because what they had already prescribed to me turned me into literally a drooling fool. That was I was having a seizure type event every 5 to 7 minutes for weeks. I went through this. It was horrible. So, and also I was getting, anyway, but so not a fun ride. Been there, done that. So when they say that, well, you better take this because I know what you need. No, you don't. Everybody's body is different. And that dosage right there that you're giving me could kill me, where anybody else, it would not affect. So the fact that you tell me it's going to be okay for me is wrong, because you have no idea what my body and what the things that have been in my body and what you're going to add some shit to what you've already done to me over these last 68 years. And I don't have a clue what I don't think so. No, just shoot me with a gun and get it over with. Okay. If that's what you're going to do, then just kill me. Let's end this now. All right. That's how I feel about it. But anyway, declared non-vaxxers a public health risk. Yes, that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, have chips to track us. You know, I've thought about this over the years, and I think the tracking device, now me and Doug are go down in the woods or something, you know, and oh, by the way, he's doing really well. Um, I drug him in the shower with me yesterday because I realized I was smelling like Duggar. And I was like, this ain't going to work because we're, sleeping together and hugging and all this, right? So smelling like dog. And I was like, wait a minute. If I'm going to smell like dog, then he's going to smell like he's going to smell better. You know what I mean? So anyway, it was funny. So me and Duggar both got our Saturday night baths, but he smells better, and so do I. My hair smells so fresh and clean. But anyway, I forgot what I was going to say. I was just giggling about that part. But anyway, but the vaccination thing and the making us do it, I don't know. I think enough of us are going to have to say no, and I know there's going to be people out there. Well, see, if I'm not vaccinated, then and you are, I'm the one at risk, not you. And they say, well, but you could be a carrier. Well, if you've taken the vaccination, guess what? You are a carrier because you have a portion of the virus in you to help you build up your immunity system. That's how it works. So they're going to give you the virus to help you get rid of it. Well, I know I don't have it now, but if I take that shot, you are going to give it to me. Well, no, well, you have to. You got to be able to give you something that's going to counteraction, which normally means they give you a low dosage of the virus so that you will build up an immunity to it. Right? So they're going to give me the virus to see if I'm going to die or not. Ooh. Yeah, let's think about that one, right, folks? Yeah, they're going to, wait a minute, we're going to give you this vaccine. Well, what's in it? We're not going to tell you. But there's a bit of the 19 in the vaccine, right? Well, it's a vaccine. But so we either build up immunity, we die from, if it is what they tell us, because we don't know what's in it. And so, if I go milk a cow, I know I'm getting milk from the cow. If I go to a pharmacy, a pharmaceutical company that's got these little bottles of liquid and they bring out a needle and say, well, this is safe. For who? Who says that bottle right there is safe? Who says that bottle over there is safe? Who says that whole case is safe? Now, being in the manufacturing business, and there are times when 10% of the product that you have is going to have a defect of some type. Even though it's passed inspection, there's probably some kind of little minute something that kind of slips by. 10%. Now, at 100,000 of them, that's 10,000 pieces that are going to have. Now, it could be just a little miscoloring of the ink. It could be something's turned just a little more sideways. It could be, it's minor, but here's the thing. 10% of all things manufactured have some type of minor defect. So you're going to give out a vaccine that in all manufacturing standards, 10% is acceptable. So 10% of 1 million is what? 100,000 people? So of 1 million people, 100,000 people are easily, well, it's within our 10% range. Do you see what I'm talking about? Now, I have worked for companies that make millions of parts. And most of the time, I bought a pair of spark plugs for my Mazda because our company used to make those spark plugs for Mazda and Ford and so forth. And so I got a set out of the box made by us. And I noticed as I was looking at them, I said, this one technically should have been rejected because the ink had a little bit of twist on it. And I was like, somebody let this through. There's nothing wrong with the wire, but my point is the ink has to be put on there correctly. And sometimes these little inking wheels get too much ink on it. Anyway, there was an ink issue. There was nothing wrong with the product, but the manufacturer specifies this ink will look like this and not like that. So, but in the event of vaccinations, let me ask you, my friends and neighbors, can you say that 10% of a million vaccinations are expected to have a contaminant possibly? Not much, but something wrong. Are we really, honest to God, willing to take that risk on something that they're rushing to manufacture to begin with? Usually any prototypes, the first cars off the line, sometimes there's some tweaking needs to be done. So if the first 100,000 cars, some might have to be recalled, or they didn't put the right bolt on, or they should have had a washer, and they go, whoops, from now on, we're going to fix this. But what about them first 100,000? What about the first 1,000? What about the first one? If anybody got one of them that had the thing wrong, right? Well, the brakes could have snapped. So, but we're going to have a recall. Well, you can't recall a vaccine. It's already in you. So I just ask people, be the grown-up in the room and stop. And before you go hit me, you think about it. And you tell the person who's giving you the shot, I'm holding you personally responsible, and take their picture. What? This person gave me this shot. Okay. Now they were employed by Umpty Scrunch, who gave out this vaccination. What you should do is you say, let me see the bottle. Well, what do you mean? There are manufacturer's numbers on the bottle. So if something happens to you, you say, I want this batch from on this date, which is recorded on all the little labels and stuff, supposedly. When was this made? Where was it made? Who made it? I'm writing this down because if I get sick and die, or any of my family, I'm coming back to where that, because it came out of this bottle. You understand? If you get a particular product, if like spark plug wires, so you buy one from Ford, it's got a manufacturer's date on it. So a Ford could go back to the day, the time, and the hour, and which machine that product was made, because that's the rules. So how are you going to do that with something they inject in you as a vaccination? No takebacks, right? Is there a 30-day warranty on this vaccination? If I die, are you going to like bring me back, not a zombie? What's your proof? And if we started holding the people responsible who gave the shots, because they're going to go, hang on, wait a minute, but I work here. Yeah, but you're the one doing the injecting, not them. So they're culpable, but you're actually the murderer. And you would, if anything happens to me, you should be arrested for second-degree murder, or at least manslaughter, first degree, because you are giving me this needle, knowing it may cause me harm. I wonder how many people, if there were 25 people standing in line and one nurse giving out shots, and if everybody in the line said, yeah, me too, what's your name, miss? And everybody clicked her picture, do you think for an instant that nurse would want to give a shot? She would go, I'm going home. How do we stop these things? There are ways without being violent. Think about it. Our protest is, okay, you're going to make me do this? Your picture is going on my Facebook channel. I'm putting this up on Instagram. Nurse Smith here at the Colquitt Regional Hospital is making me take this vaccination. And I hold her culpable and responsible because she's the one injecting me. And I have warned her this could be detrimental to my health. And whoever made the vaccine, company such and such, because I want to look at the bottle. Anything happens, I want you to follow up and sue these people. Okay, here we go. How do we do it? We arm ourselves beforehand. And if 1,000 people are supposed to get a shot, and there's only a couple of folks going to hand them out, maybe a guard who's like, you're going to take this shot. Say, I'm taking your picture too, Mr. Guard. Weapon or not, I'm okay, I'm going to take this. But everybody in the world is going to have my picture on Instagram and this, on Facebook. I'm going to plaster. I'm doing a live YouTube video right now while I'm talking to your simple looking ass. You want to enforce me to have the shot? Okay. But all of you people in this room are going to be responsible. If I die, it's your conscience, Mr. or Mrs. or Miss, or you know what I'm saying? And make them think that, because if I was the one giving a shot and I had people lined up going, Mister, you give me that shot and I die, it's on your conscience. What? People are human. They might give out 100 shots, but if the next 100 people kept saying it, I hold you responsible. I have your picture. I have your badge number. I know what the car you drive, whatever, you know. And they go, no, I ain't doing this. Don't care if it's a soldier. You tell that soldier, son or ma'am, are you, if I die, are you going to be able to live this down? How do we fix it? We can't fix the politicians, but we can fix them people who are being convinced that what they're doing for the politicians is right. The guys that came back from Vietnam joined the peace protesters. They joined the hippie movement. Why? Because it was against violence. Somebody gives me a vaccination that may kill me, make me violently ill, leave me with some permanent damage. That is a violent act against my person. And whoever get like that neurologist who gave me that pill, he should be held responsible. Now, I don't know about the pharmacists, because they're just the guys, you know, they make the pills and they're just the people who transfer it. But the doctor, when the patient says, these are making me ill, and the doctor doesn't listen and says, up your dose, that doctor should be disbarred, license taken away, and he should still be paying for what he did to me or his insurance all those years ago. So how do we make people responsible? How do we keep them from doing these things? We put them on the line. But the government told me to. Yeah, they told you to, but are you going to do it? Are you going to give all these people vaccinations when you're not sure? And if one of them dies and you find out that it was you? Here, sign this paper, Mr. Smith. I gave David Null this vaccination on, you know, the 14th of October, 2025. And if he dies, I'm to blame. Here, sign this. Well, no. Well, then I ain't getting the shot. Let Nurse Ratchet over here give it to me. Okay, Nurse Ratchet, your name is, you know, fill in the blank. Okay, sign it here. You're the one that's giving me a possibly known toxin to me. You're going to willingly commit murder or possibly minimum manslaughter. You want that on your conscience. Don't worry about the law. Talk about their conscience. Do you want that on your conscience? But I'm a nurse and it's my job. Is it your job to kill people or heal them? But so you're going to give me something that may honestly kill me. You're still going to give it to me, right? Because it's your job. Okay. Okay. Then your name and address and everything's wrote down here, and your Facebook profile, because I'm gonna link mine to that. And if anything happens to me, it's gonna be your face they see as the person who killed me. Just letting you know that. You think we could change things non-violently? Could some of us get hurt in the process? And we're all taking a chance anyway. So somebody's got to stand up. But how we stand up to them. And with this digital age, there are pictures and videos and everything. So people start doing this videoing wherever they live, at whatever they do, videotape somebody else complaining. Well, I don't, you can't make me take this. Videotape them. They're videotaping everything else. Make it viral. People don't believe in this. You can't make me do this. You know, I'm sorry, but I have choices. I have no idea what's in that drug. But you're going to say it's safe until, and if I die, I got no recourse. I'm going to have recourse before you give me the shot. That's all. Sure. Okay. You're going to give it to me. Then sign this little waiver here. If David Null dies, his family gets $1 million. What? Aren't you? You're confident that it's okay, right? Then sign this, sign this waiver to me. If anything happens to David Null after this shot, within reason, getting hit by a car, but if I die because of this virus, you guys are culpable. Wait a minute, hang on. Well, but every one of us, if any of us dies or gets sick, we should get that $1 million. So shouldn't we demand that they give me, we're going to give you the shot, and here's our written guarantee, signed by the president of Umpty Scrunch, which, he ain't nothing but a pawn. So we can't sue him because it's a corporation. So it has to say that if this person dies from this vaccine, no questions asked, the company will pay you $1 million. Would they change their tune? Can they hand out manufacturers? My Roybe, weed eater is guaranteed for 2 years for manufacturing defects. Okay, so fix or replace. Well, it's a weed eater, but do vaccinations have a warranty on them? If something happens to you or your loved one or something, is there any recourse? No, you just died. You get sick, you have hospital bills, you have funerals spent, you got all these things, but is anybody culpable? Well, no, we can't really prove it was well, all right, then you sign this affidavit, and as I get this shot, I'm going to copy the serial number from this and lot number from this vaccination. And just like the tools that I buy that I get a warranty on, if it fails or is defective, I got this. What? You're not going to warranty your product? You're not going to guarantee that none of us are going to have an adverse effect to this? We should demand warranties and this type of things on the drugs we take. And say, if this drug causes me ill effects, after I report it to my doctor, the company is responsible. They'd quit selling a lot of these drugs. But here's the thing. Which is going to get people's attention more? A couple of viral videos of people videotaping each other or, about having the vaccine or having to take these pills or something like that, instead of rioting and looting and carrying signs. Who's going to pay attention to that? But you do that nonviolent act of showing all these people, putting other people's faces. Well, here, everybody, this is the nurse that's giving me this vaccination. Just wanted you all to know her name's Mary Ann Smith, and she lives here in town. So, just to let you know, she's the one giving me. The ripple effect of that would turn into a giant wave. There would be nurses and people going, no. Everybody that's coming up here says, I'm going to be responsible if they get sick. Doc, I ain't giving these shots out. I'm sorry. My pictures, the 1,000 people have taken my picture. No, if any of these people die, they're going to blame me. No. Think about that. How do we fix this? How do we fix this? Because then the guard, then the nurse, then the guy behind that saying, wait a minute, what's the pharmacist's name? Well, his name, that's Bill Jones. Okay, Bill Jones was the pharmacist who handled this vial and gave it to Nurse Smith, and she's the one that gave it to me. Okay, so now it's this person, and here's the guard who's making me take it. Here's the person behind the counter. This is the store I bought it in, and the date is, 10, whatever, blah, blah, blah. How do we win this? You better believe that would start a revolution without ever firing a shot. You know what I mean? We would be not taking shots possibly, but to the point, if we all agreed to do that, then they wouldn't give them to us. Because the people who are going to give them are going to go, not me. Now, I don't even want the chance that something could happen. Now, I know people in the medical field, they go through this all the time, but you take their picture and you do this thing and you, whatever. The people who have to implement it, like, here, shoot those people over there. Nuh-uh, you shoot them. Were being shot as the Nazis got rid of the Jews and other people during World War II. So the people who are going to be doing the shooting, are they being held responsible? Some of them were. But at the same time, in having watched some of these videos and stuff about the people who actually did do some of the shooting, they were trying to be compassionate about it. But in that instance, they would be shot on the spot. And so would their family. So, but a policeman who's standing guard, here, take your shot. The nurse giving it is not the same as having a gun and the Nazis and that. It's not the same. So we can show our distaste and our distrust, and we put it on the people who are going to implement their plan. We can get them on a personal level. We don't have to convince the sheriff or whatever. We don't have to go in and declare our that we're sovereign beings and all this stuff. We don't have to fight in court. We take a picture of the person who's going to give us the shot, and we spread it around and say, look, I know you have any bad intentions, but if you give me that, I could die. Are you willing to do that? Let's put the guilt on people, and that guilt, and whether or not they accept it or receive it. But if enough of us do it, I'm here to tell you, we can change some minds. Oh my God, I've been at this 3 hours. Agenda 201, Event 201, whatever the events, we'll draw up our own contracts, just like you said, David. I'm serious. If we all did it and said, here, sign this, are you sure? Where's my certificate? I bought a weed eater, I got a warranty. I bought a this, I got a warranty. I got a that, I got a warranty, that I could at least get it out of the store, but you're not going to give me any warranty? Yeah. Thank you, Candy Apple. We love you too. Our world order. Yes, because there are a lot more of us than there are of them. And what do they hate more than anything? Ooh, public scrutiny, right? Ooh. And how do we take it back? Now, there are people who are going to have the shots. That's the bottom line. There are going to have to be people that are going to have to take the shots. But, if it meant that I could save somebody else's life by getting the darn shot, and you take the video of me, of them doing this thing, okay, all right. If it has to be me, now I might die and I might not, but, I'm rolling the dice myself. But here's the point, though. We all just have to say, okay, you're going to make me do this, then all right, then here are my conditions. All right, So how do we play the game? How do we play by their game? Where's your warranty? Where's your certificate of authenticity? What is the proof that this isn't part of that 10% that might be funky? In any manufacturing center, even after being inspected, there's 10% like I said, they're minor. But when you're talking about a vaccine, any kind of minor incident with a vaccine could be life threatening. It ain't like ink on a spark plug wire that's off. Okay, so there's a big difference. But we got to remember that 10%. Now, even if it were only 5%, it's still too big, right? So they're going to say, well, we can't guarantee that everybody won't be affected. Why not? Because they've already written into the equation 10% of these people are going to have a bad, it's just part of the rules. And they know what the numbers are. And they're just hoping that it ain't all in one group or something, that, 20 people die from, getting shots at one clinic, they're hoping that it's spread around. So, but in this, though, if we try to push, I'll take it, but you got to guarantee. That's up to us. And we bitch enough about it. I think we can pull it off. Well, and all we got to say is, where's your warranty? Where's your guarantee? You're going to give us a shot. Where's our guarantee that we won't have an adverse? That's all. Where's your guarantee that I won't get sick? Where's your guarantee my child won't be turned into an autistic or mumbling, fumbling idiot after you give them the shot, or that they get some kind of ailment that they will die from? Where is your guarantee that this won't happen? Then we ain't doing it. If anything happens, you're going to pay $1 million. Here's my $1 million. Sign this. If you take this and have any adverse effects, we will pay you $1 million. Okay, I'll stand in line. I might get a chance of winning $1 million. I might be dead. You know what I mean? But anyway, my friends, I love you. I do. Thank you for hanging out with me this 3 hours. Oh my God, there's 25 likes. Holy crap. I have not been paying attention. Scratch. Once they try forcing it, really seeing happens en masse, that's when things are going to get lively. Yeah. I would like some super. Yep. Hi, Michelle. Did I miss you? David Castle, how are you all? Okay. Yep, you all are beautiful souls. And I'm just here to be the grown up in the room and give you another point of perspective. Because if we think that we are beaten and they got us all and we might have to must. But we also have some alternatives and things that we can do to publicize and to put forth without being violent. That's my point. If we sit down, hash this out, and figure it out, we can come up with something to kind of beat them at their own game. Well, Umpty Scrunch Pharmaceuticals is the one that's making this, and I'm letting everybody know that Umpty Scrunch Pharmaceuticals and this little bottle here, if anything happens to me, these are the folks. There's your name. So we start putting their name out there, and that if anything happens to me, and then there's 10 people, then there's 20 people, then there's 100 people, and then there's 1,000 people that say, if anything happens to me, these people are responsible. And then, then other people start picking, and then all of a sudden it's 1 million people going, hang on, you going to guarantee this? Well, this company is, all of a sudden, the responsibility of the company is going to go, oh, holy crap. Who made me take this? Well, the governor said. Okay, well, then the governor, he'll be charged in his suit as well. What? Yeah, all the people responsible. Sure enough, it's a death. It's not a bad lawnmower. Somebody died. Yeah, but we're going to give this to everybody. But can you guarantee me, Mr. Whoever you are, that this ain't going to kill one of us? Well, no. I mean, so then why are you going to make us all take it? So we don't want any of you to die. Well, isn't that a little backwards? You're going to give us something that might make some of us die, and you already know it. There's a percentage that's going to have a problem, but you're willing to kill that many people to try to save the rest of us. Right? That's what they're doing. So we tell them what they're doing to us. We explain it to other people. Do you know that pharmaceutical companies know ahead of time that a certain percentage of people are going to have an adverse reaction and could possibly die? Why do you think all these commercials about the drugs and blah, 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 and if you take this, blah, 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 and you might die? Okay, if I might die, then if I'm going to take your pill, then you're going to guarantee that I'm not. Well, we can't do that. Well, then why should I take your pill? Well, it might save your life, and it could quite possibly fucking kill me. Sorry for the language, but that was important. There's a difference here. Well, we at pharmaceutical butt scratchers, um, you know, we take butt scratching seriously, and we don't want any of our butt hairs to get into your vaccine, but there is a certain percentage that you may actually get some butt skin in your vaccine from us, from butt scratchers pharmaceuticals. But it's only a small amount of you that's going to be affected. But hey, you could die. What the hell, right? That's what they're telling us. And they give it to us in advertisement. Tell your doctor. Yeah, I told my doctor. I went to a neurologist. They gave me a medicine that almost killed me. But do I have any recourse? None. Because they don't guarantee their product. They won't guarantee my safety or yours or the next person's. They won't put up their money and say, no, this is safe. They're averaging this out. They're practicing medicine to see whether or not it works. Zantac on the shelf, there was all this stuff, and now some folks are still selling Zantac. You know what I mean? And well, it may cause, it has been determined by the such and such, and Walgreens and somebody pulled it off their shelves, and because they didn't want to get blamed in the lawsuit. But you can still buy this stuff. What? There's all this stuff about Roundup. Guess what they're selling in Home Depot and Lowe's? Roundup. But it causes cancer. Yeah, but they're still selling it. What? Should Roundup not be banned? I mean, if you sell it to a farmer, that's an agriculture, that's a business, that's different. But if you're going to sell it to the homeowner who has children and pets and stuff, but it has a known carcinage in it, but you're still selling the shit. Are you serious? Yep, that's the world we live in. I had a friend of mine say, I had a garden. I went down to the store to buy some Roundup. And I went, you mean you can still buy it? It was, yeah, I put it in the garden all the time. It can kill you. Yeah, but it keeps the weeds out. The vapors can kill you, but yeah, it keeps the weeds out. So I was talking about convenience in another video. Here we are. The convenience of not having to pull weeds is worth it, although what I'm using might kill me. It's okay. We've accepted the risk. We sure have a lot to learn, and me, myself, and I make up, for example, let me give you this little tidbit here at the end here. And Brandy and Dark Truth and Isby, Fox, if you're still out there, Deborah, anybody else out there that's hanging out there, it says 16 of you. I love you all. I do. For example, there's a lot of mosquitoes all of a sudden after that last big tropical storm we had come through. I mean, just big mosquitoes that aren't normally here. They come up from the swamps in Florida and down in the South, and they get pulled up by the winds and deposited up here. And then we have to deal with the little bastards. But anyway, so with dealing with this, you can spray yourself, but when they're swarming all around you, it's like, I just can't handle it. I've got a mosquito hat thing, and I wear long sleeve shirts, and cover up. But the buzzing, and when they're like, when there's 20 or 30 of them around your head and around you, it's time for me to take action. So what I have done is I collect old spray bottles. They come in handy for all kinds of things. So I put a mixture of soap, dish soap. Okay. It could be laundry detergent, but dish soap because it makes bubbles. You want something that bubbles really good, right? Now I've got different things that I use. I use pine sol in some of them mixed with the soap. And then I add water. Now, in some of them, I use a cleaner. It's a dollar store purple cleaner thingy. I like it for the fragrance, and it's a soap. But also what I mix in with it is ammonia. Now, ammonia as especially, and it's ammonia, you can get it as a soap, but ammonia in and of itself is okay for the environment. I mean, ammonia is nitrogen, which is good for plants. Okay, so but ammonia won't kill you like bleach or some of these other things. So anyway, I put my different mixtures, and I got a couple of spray bottles around, and one's been working better than another. But what I do is I put it on mist. Okay, so I got a bunch of mosquitoes flying around me. I spray it around me a couple of times and hit those mosquitoes. The soap hits their wings, and with the water that's combined, it gets on their wings and they can't fly. Okay, another squirt, and when they're on the ground, and depending on the amount of the ammonia, goes right into their bodies and kills the little buggers. You know, so it's like, but the biggest thing is that I can drop them. So they're buzzing all around me, and I go spray, spray, spray with soapy water, little ammonia, or Pine Sol, and you watch the mosquitoes fall around you, and then I step on them to make sure they're dead. You know, and so it's like, well, I could use, uh, repellent, but that don't get rid of the mosquitoes that are hanging out at my back door that want to come in every time me and Duggar go in and out, which is frequent. So I'm always standing at the door with a spray bottle, because if I see one, if I can't kill it, slap it or otherwise, and I've used these mosquito bats, they work up to a point. But if I can't see one or hit it just right for it to electrocute it, with the soap, I don't have to see them, because the soap will mist down and get on any mosquitoes low enough. And it will normally, I've noticed 80% of the time, will drop them out of the sky. They can't fly. Now they'll wiggle around on the ground, and I don't wait to see whether or not they're going to like get back up and fly again. Don't want that, right? So I just go ahead and smush them. But the thing is I've gotten rid of hundreds of mosquitoes just simply by using this spray me before I go in the house, because when I go outside, mosquitoes will follow your CO2. So as you breathe, you leave a trail, and mosquitoes out in the yard will literally follow my CO2 trail up to the house. So if I open the door right away, as the mosquitoes are catching up with me, they're going to come in the house too. And then I got to fight them in here. So I'd much rather stand at the door, turn around and spray, knock down those mosquitoes, make sure they're dead, and then I don't have to worry about them getting in the house. Yeah, it takes me a couple of minutes, but there are millions of the little buggers right now. But to the point though, so you're sitting around and mosquitoes are bothering you, and you're swishing them and you're putting on repellent, but they're still there. But if you got a spray bottle of some soapy water, and you put it on mist, like I say, and you spray around, you'll see them drop. Mush them, they're gone. They're dead. They're not coming back. You don't have to shoo them away anymore. Now, another one may come in because of your CO2 trails that we all leave. And they come in, they get around you, missed them. They'll fall out of the sky. And depending on your mixture of stuff, do not use bleach. I'm warning, don't use bleach. Don't use bleach. Bad on the environment. Don't use bleach. Ammonia or just soap. Soap suds will do it, but it won't necessarily kill them. But you want the soap because gets on their little wings and makes them too heavy, and they'll just to the ground. So, but anyway, so my tip: you want to get rid of little buggers, spray them with some soap. Say no to bleach. People use too much bleach on everything. I used to be one of those people, and now it's ammonia. And you do not mix bleach and ammonia. Now, I still have bleach around the house for those really hard plastic items, but I've noticed that in testing out different products, that ammonia, if you let it sit for just a little bit with a little bit of water and maybe some soap and a little scrub brush, I used to just wait for the bleach to clean. I can clean it myself and get it just as clean. Ammonia is a disinfectant, and there's a lot of things good about ammonia. And other than cleaning stuff, that's all bleach is good for. You pour bleach in the yard, you're going to kill something. You pour ammonia in the yard or in your septic tank, which is one of the issues I had. Bleach kills everything. So it was killing the natural organisms in my septic tank. so that it would not digest the way it's supposed to. But when I quit using bleach in the toilet and stuff and switched to other products, then my issues of clogging and things got drastically better, because those natural things, and ammonia is natural where chlorine is not necessarily, that, it's also a plant food, you know, ammonia nitrate, nitrogen. Ammonia nitrate is fertilizer. They make bombs out of it too. But to the point though, it's better for for the universe, ammonia, because it's more natural. They even used, back in the old days, ammonia was used as a refrigerant. In fact, in every travel trailer that is self-sufficient, in other words, it doesn't need electricity, has a refrigerator that, guess what, is run on ammonia. Yep, ammonia. And it has a very low boiling point. And you can literally, if anybody's ever had a travel trailer or whatever like that, or a camper like that has that type of refrigerator, there's a pilot light, so you can burn it with, you can make your refrigerator work by, guess what, turning on a pilot light. And you go, what? Yep. But it's the way it's designed, the way it's made. So it heats up this little bubble that's filled with ammonia. Well, the whole system is a closed system, but anyway, so you bubble up it's not much more than a good sized match, right? But so there's this little pilot light, and it keeps it heats up the ammonia, which runs through the system by itself, simply because you heat up this, it pulls from here. Anyway, so it works on its own with heat, and not a lot, and that makes coolant, and there's your refrigerator. So ammonia's had a lot of good stuff that it does, where bleach is just bleach. Can you think of anything else that it's good for? You know what I mean? Anyway, so I have become an ammonia fan. What do they give you when you pass out? They give you one of those little things. What is it? It's ammonia. What? Yep. So they're trying to wake you up. Somebody says, well, I don't like those fumes that ammonia gives off. Right. That's why they use them in smelling salts. What? Yeah. Ever smelled one? Yeah. I've had them held under my nose. It's ammonia. So if you're feeling a little faint, go open an ammonia bottle and just kind of whiff in the airs. It'll help clean out the nostrils. If it was going to kill you, they wouldn't put it in those little crushable things, right? So think about that. But anyway, so a little tidbit here at the end. This is one of the marathon ones I guess I'm doing tonight. I was visited by a friend earlier this evening, and it was a very nice visit. And so it got me thinking about things. And after damn near 4 hours, I'm still here rattling my mouth. Mossy Man, yeah, if you're still out there in the background, all y'all, thanks for hanging out with me. I just felt like, I didn't really have anything in particular to say, like, a subject that we need to discuss. But about the original thing, though, we do need to sit down and hash it out and figure it out. And there are a lot of other choices we can come up with other than just violence. There's got to be. There can't be only one answer, There's got to be other answers. And we got to be strong enough to try to point them out to people without being violent ourselves. Now, we got to stand firm. We got to be, but we can't be violent. That's the thing. Anytime I've ever tried to fight back, they just throw shit at us harder. But when we play it in a certain realm that is nonviolent, they have a hard time trying to make us look like idiots. And especially if we all stay together on this. If we all agree we don't want to be forcibly vaccinated, then we should all agree and stick to it. Just don't, well, I agree. And then, they told me I had to get one. And so you got it? Yeah. Did you take a contract? No. Did you take any pictures? No. Did you do a video stream? No. Then, okay, no offense, but we talked about this. So if something happens, you didn't give us any recourse. You know, you didn't tell me in your video or send me a picture and go, you know, these are the folks. If I die, get them. You know, talk about a class action suit. So anyway, there are ways that we have. You know, let them eat cake. I like the smell of tequila, says Dark Truth. I used to, you know. Oh, I've eaten many a worm in my day, let me tell you. Needle in the egg on my buttock, shoestring soaked in antiseptic, packed in the hole at the base of my spine. Had to change it every day. Gross. I've had a similar incident. I had a flesh eating hole in my leg that I could literally stick my little finger damn near to the bone. And it took me almost a year. And every day I had to literally go in there and scrape the pus and crap out of there and clean it and peroxide it and alcohol and stuff and dress the wound twice a day at least. Otherwise, it would get so nasty and smell. Oh my God. And it took me 6 months to get it under control, but it took several more months for the hole to finally heal. And I still got a nice size hole in my leg. There's a scar that's dipped in from where the hole was in my leg. And I don't know how I got it or where or whatever, but I'm here to tell you there's some nasty stuff out there. And I went to the doctor and she gave me this and that, and none of it worked. What worked was simple things, but it was the constant cleaning and the keeping stuff out of it. That's what cured it. Flies are bad this year, but leave a drop of Fireball in a bottle and they go on a suicide drunk binge. Found that out by accident. What's Fireball, Deborah? Just a little dimple now. Oh, I killed a spider the other night. I've had issues with spiders over the hot shot liqueur. Is that's what? Wait, Fireball. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, used to work in a bar down in Thomasville. You're hanging in, Michelle. Well, it's 12:19 here on the Eastern Daylight Time. You had a dream you had a big one on your elbow, Dark Truth? Well, let me tell you, there's nothing more like a good antiseptic. And sometimes creams don't work. Those antiseptic creams, I noticed, and here's the deal. Don't slabber it on. If it only takes a microscopic film of whatever you're using, because if you're pouring on the cream, you're wasting it. But the other side of the coin is I found out that with whatever flesh eating disease I have, because it was eating my flesh, the only thing I could do was keep it from eating more. And so by cleaning the wound and and I use witch hazel a lot, okay? And it's got a certain amount of alcohol in it, but witch hazel isn't astringent. If you don't have it, you should. Buy some, keep it always. It's good for antiseptic. It's great on your hair and your scalp and your skin. It's wonderful. And but that's I think was one of the saving graces for me and my the hole in my leg was because alcohol burnt too much. But the witch hazel has enough alcohol in it, type thing, and also because it's an astringent, it cleaned but didn't burn like like somebody had a match on my leg. And I tried many things over the course of the months, but taking a little witch hazel with a clean Q-tip and cleaning up around the thing, of course I put a bandage over it, but lightly to keep anything from going in the wound more than from covering it. But I seriously had to go in there and clean it out. I mean, dig and clean it out. And after the first few times, it was like gross and nasty. If you don't want this thing to eat your leg and get your leg cut off, you better do something. And that means get in there and dig out that poison. That's it. And you got to do it. I did it. Still got a little dimple there. But to the point though, It wasn't going to the doctor. It wasn't taking any antibiotic. It wasn't doing any of these other things, but cleaning and keeping it up and keeping natural things on it cured it with persistence, I might add. And I was careful not to go swimming in the lake. I was careful not to go in the river. As much as I wanted to do certain things, I had this hole in my leg that was not heat. No, so there were certain activities I just had to refrain from. But other than that, I went along with my daily activities. So, but other than going swimming in the river or something like that, everything else was normal. But anyway, so my friends, I love you. I do. I hope you have a great week. There's going to be some crazy stuff going on. And today is supposed to be one of those crazy days. We'll find out. Candy Apple, blessings. Thank you. Night, David. One miracle cure I found is vanilla extract from my dog getting skunked. Yeah, that works too. Worked instantly better than anything else. If you have sneezed today and pulled a muscle in my chest, holy crap. That is a painful injury for someone that smokes THC and needs to cough every so often. Yep. And that was my issue earlier about, can we hash things out? Going to leave it at that. But anyway, so yeah, I was coughing a bunch too. And sorry about that, David. So I will say good night, good morning, and good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Hawkeye Two Feathers, also known as sometimes David Null. So I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. And in that law of three, which I believe in, I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue your journey to learn how to accept and receive and continue to share that knowledge to everyone and anyone that you may come in contact with, and that you will accept and receive the knowledge and the healing and the wisdom from the universe. So cosmic hugs, my friend. Have a great weekend, a great weekend coming up. And just beware, there's been some October surprises stuff that's been talked about, and we don't know what some of these evil sons of bitches have got in mind. So let's be aware of our surroundings and what's going on. And we're going to have to roll with the punches. That's all that's our only choice at this moment. So, but anyway, thank you for your time. Thank you for your prayers. Keep doing what you do. We're making progress. It looks like we're backing up, but we're making progress. So from South Georgia, as always, it is TTFN. Ta-ta for now from Duggar and myself, who's going to go out and fight skeeters. See you later, alligator. And after a while, Mr. Crocodile and Miss Crocodile.